Good afternoon. Would you like to try a free sample of our double fudge brownie?
Oh, sure. That's very good. I'll just take one more, just to be sure. Yep, still very good.
Some things never change, like never being able to take just one free sample. And Geico saving folks lots of money on their car insurance.
Is that macadamia nut I taste? Let me take one more.
Sir,
Yeah, I thought so.
15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Imagine the greatest collection of real-life entertainment on the planet, all in one place. Go ahead. Dare to stream with Discovery Plus. Stream now. Stream what you love.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net. From Asthma Studios near Detroit, Michigan, it's Unregimented.
Gangsters, what's up, guys?
And now, here are your hosts.
All right, well, welcome to Unregimented number 220. I'm Chris.
I'm Aaron.
I'm Rich. And the word shithole is now ruined. God damn it.
Well,
It's one of my favorite adjectives.
Really? I mean, that's kind of worn out. I don't.
Well, after last weekend, sure.
I'm sad about losing it. Well, no, I mean, even prior to that, like, I don't know that it was being used a lot. It seems like an old man type of thing to say.
Place is a shithole. It's good. You know, it's a good term.
It just
Shithole.
It just proved that I think very differently than a lot of other people, because I hear the term shithole and I'm thinking of someone's asshole. I don't think of a place. I think of a body part.
Kind of a place. Yeah.
Well, okay, before we really start talking about necessarily the fallout and from it and everything,
Yeah.
I just want to point out something. This falls under the broken clock is even right twice a day. He ain't wrong. He's just fucking, because he didn't, if he'd have stood up and said, the world is full of shithole places, but he'll never do that. He'll never go, come to East Detroit, take a look. You're going to tell me that's a great place you want your kids to grow up in?
And tossing in Norway at the end is what really damned him. Like, oh, no.
Well, yeah, he made it pretty clear that it was about skin color, not really so much about geographical location. It makes me wonder if we would be talking about this at all if he just simply said a dump. Like he normally says. Like if this was a tweet, he'd be like, Haiti's a dump.
Even if you say Norway. If you just said, whatever, these shithole countries, and he would have left Norway, like, hey, let's bring in people from, like, Norway. If he'd have left that part out.
But when you go shithole countries like Haiti and Africa.
Which, first of all, Africa
is not a country.
Well, I know. I'm merely repeating.
No, I'm talking to him, not you.
No, but I don't think that we would be talking about this issue at all if he just said, Haiti's a dump, Africa's a dump, why are we bringing people? I mean, I don't know if that would have, what went on in that meeting would have really got any traction at all if anybody was talking about it. And that is the more important issue here, right? It's not about, his language is unsurprising. His demeanor, his racist thoughts and saying them openly is not that shocking coming from Trump. This is the pig that you elected. The fact that he used the word shit, it's kind of interesting. Like, the spin on this, first it was he didn't say it. He didn't say shithole, right? Okay, well, forget about the word shithole. Did he talk disparagingly about black people from other countries? That's the core of what we're talking about here. And then the cover is like, well, no, it was misheard. He didn't say shithole. He said shithouse, which I think seems like cover because it's
not.
I mean, what's a shithouse?
Better.
Right. Shithouse isn't really a thing. I mean, if I said that place is a shithouse, you would know what I was saying, but probably would also think that he probably meant shithole, right? So what's the difference there? I mean, maybe he did say shithouse, but nobody says shithouse. That's not a term. What he meant was shithole. But however you want to paint it. And I think, we think about Trump as this like constant liability, right? He was useful because he was able to get elected as a Republican, and he's being used as a tool by Republicans. And then, but it's a problem that he's constantly, going off script, that he's a loose cannon. But I think they actually like that. I think that's endearing, that because it gives them cover. Because now we are talking about the language and the demeanor of the president rather than his core beliefs, which is what we should be looking at. His beliefs are he doesn't want black people coming into this country. He wants white people coming into this country. Well, that's a problem. That goes directly against what we claim to stand for as a country. But this is a belief that Republicans, this is accusatory, but I think a lot of them hold this belief privately. They want to see, they're okay with immigration. They like to talk about the American dream and how people can come over here and have opportunities that they don't have anywhere else in the world. But they want that to be white people coming here. And they can't talk about not wanting to have black people come into this country because they're going to lose voters because of that.
Yeah, but can we
but now the president
the fake
can
outrage
say it,
away?
And they can just hide behind it. The fake outrage over what? Over his choice of language?
No, over him being bigoted, because the Civil Rights Act is a thing. Quite honestly,
so your point is that
there are laws to stop, this rabbit he's chasing down, so to speak, and the Republicans, they're.
Well, yeah, I mean, we saw this happen right off the bat from his presidency.
Over the weekend. What's that?
Well, we saw that happen right off the bat in his presidency when he tried to do the Muslim ban, not a Muslim ban.
Yeah. So,
the system kicked in, and
over the weekend, everyone can just put it away. There's things in place to prevent shit like this from happening. It sucks. You don't want that out of your leaders, but I mean, let's relax, everybody.
He did get his Muslim ban eventually. The system did kick in to try and prevent it, but was unable to. And yes, what the president says doesn't necessarily set policy, and it certainly doesn't change the Constitution, but a president that's willing to ignore it is dangerous. So, I mean, I understand it's ridiculous to be shocked by, I can't believe he would use that language. That he would even as a president, that he would reduce the office to that.
And are you even shocked that he'd say, "Hey, black people come in or white people come in and not black people"? Aren't you the same crowd that was screaming he was a white supremacist in August at Charlottesville? And you're surprised?
The shock and the outrage doesn't really do you anything here either. I mean, you should be using this as just more proof. Okay, we've been talking about how this president is racist and bigoted, and now here is words out of his own mouth proving that.
Okay, and I mean, policy will stop it.
Policy won't stop it. It fucking didn't. He has his Muslim ban. The courts were unable to stop it.
But we're getting into things like talking about making laws based on race here. You can't do that. You're talking about having to repeal the Civil Rights Act of '64 for the stuff he's talking about happening.
Yeah, if you look at the core of it, if you're talking about judging people based on the color of their skin, yes, it is pretty cut and dry as far as settled law.
His loophole with the Muslim ban is Al Qaeda. It is terrorism. Terror. That was his loophole with the Muslim ban. That's how he got that. You're not going to be able to apply that for anyone who's not white. You're talking about having to.
His loophole is playing off of people's fear of terrorism.
Yeah.
Right. So.
But if you're talking nobody but whitey, you're talking about repealing landmark legislation. That's simply an act that's not going to happen. You think any congressman's going to want to be on the? You think any congressman wants it on their record they voted to repeal the Civil Rights Act? Maybe some super way to the right guy, but really, you think anyone they want to get elected again?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you.
I just thought last weekend was just. I thought it was another bunch of much ado about nothing. It was projecting shithole on Trump Tower was we're in the two wrongs make a right society now.
No, I agree with you. I have no room for the outrage over the way the president conducts himself because it's no surprise. And we knew about this. I mean, this happened last Thursday before we started recording, and even made just kind of a passing joke about how the president said shithole and moved on. I wasn't outraged by his language. It's just, the whole thing was very illustrative of how the people are conducting themselves around the president and using his outrageous quote unquote remarks as a shield to get what they want done, as a prop to, they can't, I guess I already said this, but they can't come out and say to themselves they don't want black people in this country. But they can certainly, twist what happened to make it seem like it wasn't even there. I mean, that's what everybody's arguing about what he did or didn't say, and not about what was the sentiment that he was making. So again, if he said this Haiti's a dump, we wouldn't be having a public conversation about this. But that is
but I guess just acting like he's going to sign into legislation that says only white people can come in, I thought was ridiculous, because there was a lot of reaction like that. Like, really, you honestly think that's going to happen? You are out of your fucking mind. And you have no idea how government works if you honestly think that's something that could happen.
But it is at least, it's not outrage worthy, I agree, but it is at least worth noting that our president has no regard for people who aren't white, and no regard for the Constitution, no regard for settled law.
That's my thing. Didn't we already note this in August? That was my other thing. Didn't we already note
every instance? Why not?
Like, why are we so?
What is the alternative? To not care? To not give a shit anymore?
It's a zero. It's not going to do nothing.
It's not doing anything.
There's a difference between noting every instance and taking a victory lap and running around screaming into people's faces, anyone who will stand still and listen to you. I told you so, nah, nah, boo, 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 and all that bullshit. And that's what happens a lot with this. I mean, it was, he called Haiti and the country of Africa. I rolled my eyes when I said it, by the way. That's good podcasting right there. Podcasting 101.
They throw some air quotes, too.
Yeah, there, threw them in. You can't tell, but I did. He called those places shitholes, and then Democrats who just hate him and are looking for anything to jump on went against their own arguments to go, they aren't shitholes. Well, if they aren't shitholes, why are so many people trying to get away from him and come here? You just tripped yourself up. You played into his hand because you wanted to go virtue signal so fucking badly and speak for people who never asked you to open your cock holster for them one time, not once. And that's where I'm like, just shut the fuck up, please. Could you people shut the fuck? You do more damage than you do good. Just go fucking eat a bag of smashed assholes and shut up, please.
Yes, a reasonable Democrat would have been brave enough to say, you know what, Haiti and Africa, these are places that have problems, and that's why we want to send aid there. That's why we want to help these countries out, and that's why we want to give opportunities for people to come to this country to have a better life from Haiti and Africa, and then go on to give examples of, there's plenty of examples given of people who immigrated from this country or from Haiti or from the continent of Africa who have successful lives here.
Yeah, some of the most educated immigrants come from Nigeria.
Right.
They were talking, that was one of the very few news stories that didn't run with the outrage, that didn't automatically go. Like, if Trump stood up and said, drink 8 glasses of water a day, they would argue, there's people that go, fuck that, don't drink any water. Drink Gatorade. It's got electrolytes. They would just argue the opposite just to argue it. One of the few news stories that didn't jump on the sensationalism and outrage bandwagon was like, well, let's look at the facts here. And the facts are, some of the most educated immigrants we accept in this country come from countries in Africa. So he's just wrong. You can't paint with that broad of a brush. Once again, it's not all black, it's not all white. There's a billion shades of gray between those two extremes. And I love it that at least some people are calling out the bullshit from both sides and going, there's nuance and there's subtlety here, and you're acting like it doesn't exist because you hate the man so much.
Right. Well, I don't think there's any nuance left on whether the president himself is racist. I think that's clear, and I think that's an important thing to note. But yeah, I mean, the bigger thing here is how Republicans are handling immigration in general. And you can always tell when it turns into a real platform issue for Republicans, because they all get on the same page, they all start using the same language, and they choose their words so carefully. I mean, I've got to hand it to them. The chain migration is a great fucking term. It doesn't describe the current immigration policies we have of keeping families together, but it's a way to twist that to make people think, oh yeah, that doesn't sound right. I mean, first of all, migrant is what you think when you think of chain migration. So you think of migrant workers, a lot of people coming over the border, bringing in their family, and the fact that it's a chain. Well, what's this chain based on? It feels like you're letting a Mexican into your party and they're going to let all their friends in the back door, right?
They'll all pile out of one Chevy Chevette.
Right. So this term of chain migration that this policy that they want to do away with is completely antithetical to how we should handle migration. What is wrong with if we have somebody here in this country currently and they are doing all the right things, they got their visa, they got their citizenship even, they are playing by the rules, they are employed, they are paying taxes, they are a stand-up citizen. We should want more of their family over here. And that's probably enough if you want to talk about merit-based. Trump likes to talk about, we want to give them some sort of test.
There's a process for it though, man. That's how my family got here. I mean, it was one guy got here and then they kept sponsoring another relative, and it was a chain.
This is the problem that it is a chain.
But there was a process.
But it's not a chain. Calling it a chain sounds like random. It wasn't a random chain. It was a family bond, and that's what the Republicans are looking to shut down. They only want to bring over the guy with the engineering degree, even though if he's just over here by himself, most of his money's probably going to go back home anyway. They don't want to bring over the rest of the family because, look, we should be multicultural. I just don't want to have to go through neighborhoods where there's things on signs written in different languages, because that doesn't feel like America to me.
Well, once again,
that's the Republican stance.
Once again, I got to people that feel that way, I have to throw your quote back in their face. Unless I'm touching you, I don't give a fuck about your feelings. Right. Oh, you have to look at a language you can't read. Oh my God, really? Get the fuck over yourself. But I'm not like, I've kind of had to accept that. Look, we can't just have open borders. Period. It's just, this is not. One of the arguments I heard was, well, in the late 1800s, early 1900s, you just simply came here and boom, made your life and you were a citizen. You can't compare the world today to 100 years ago.
Can't. Nobody paid fucking taxes back then.
That's what. Yeah, I mean,
all decided. All the rich people got together and said, "Fuck the government. What are they going to do?" I pay their taxes. You can't do that anymore.
I mean, the world has changed,
especially if you're black. They'll throw your ass in jail.
Now you just have to pay a lobbyist.
Right.
Yeah, but either way, you're going to pay. But
yes, I'm sorry. If you don't want to pay taxes, you have to do it the old-fashioned way and make it built into the law that you're too rich to pay taxes.
But just because I'm not for just wide open borders doesn't mean that I'm for, you worship a God that I don't agree with. You can't come in here. Because if that was the case, I'd only be letting like Richard Dawkins in. That's it. Everybody else get the fuck out.
Right.
Take Buddha, Allah, Jesus, the banana god, Fufi-Fu, whoever the fuck you believe in, and get the fuck out of here. But once again, it's not about what I want. It's about what's best for. And yeah, I'm sorry, I'm going to say it, and it's going to sound shitty to a lot of people, but it's what's best for the country first, what's best for the people coming into the country who want to be citizens second. We cannot put them and go, well, we just got to do what's best for everybody else. That never works. That never works. Because eventually we're going to be a country full of shitholes more so than we already are.
Right.
I mean, people, that's one of the things I thought was funny about the Norwegian comment is that I've read people online who are from Norway going, I don't want to fucking move to that shithole United States.
No, they don't. They're fine. They've got their health care
here. Yeah, we got health care, we got good roads, good schools.
Right. We pay 40% in tax, but they take care of everything. We don't have to do shit. Some of us don't even have to work.
I mean,
they're like, go to America.
Yeah, why would we give all that up to go be ruled by a Cheeto with a bad fucking comb over? It's just that's
a good point.
They got lost in all this.
Yeah, no, that is actually a really good point, because it's not just about attracting that engineer that's going to add something to our economy. It's giving him a reason to stay. And that's part of what bringing his family over here is doing. Sure. Okay, so he brings over his wife, a cousin, his grandma, somebody like that. Maybe these people don't work. Maybe they just stay at home all day and he provides for them. But that's a reason for him to stay in this country and build something instead of come here, work for maybe 5 years, make as much money as he can, send most of it home, and then go somewhere else. Maybe go back to his home country or go to fucking Norway and work as an engineer there, or go someplace where his family will be welcome. I mean, you can't just think that you're going to have this strict merit-based system and that you're automatically going to retain all these people who want to come and work here. People will see it as a way to make money, but not as a place to build a family. And that's I mean, isn't that what we're talking about here? We're talking about America is supposed to be this country about family values. And we have, all of this institution of marriage and building and having kids all built into our laws, built into in the way we tax people, and the advantages that we give them in this country. We want people to build families and make more people, and that's what keeps our economy and our country going. I don't know why we'd want to make a system where people from the other countries could come in here, work high-paying jobs, make a lot of money, take all that money back home, and leave us high and dry. That is not going to help anyone.
Exactly. And it happens quite a bit with the people who come in here who are highly educated. It happens to people who come here for an education.
Right.
They come here, they get educated, and they take their education back to their home country. And if we were see, I'm going to piss off the right and the left within the same conversation. I love it. This is right where I like to be. If we were such a great fucking country, they wouldn't leave. The fact that they come here because our schools are recognized as some of the best in the fucking world, or at least as higher education, that is. Right. Get their education and then go back to their own country should tell you quite a bit about, well, these people, they're beating down the door to get in here. People beating down the door to get in here, floating across, the ocean on fucking rafts and shit to get in here. Those aren't the same people that are going to MIT or Johns Hopkins or wherever the fuck,
Yeah.
Those are people who are trying to fucking survive and think they will have a better shot of it here. These are people coming over here who go, for me to basically do whatever I want to do, I have to be educated at one of these schools in the United States or in parts of Europe. And then I go back to my country, and they flat out live better than they would here.
Yeah,
that's all there is to it. Bottom line.
And there's so many Americans walking around like our country is hot shit. Everybody wants to be like us. Everybody wants to live here. And really, I mean, we're popular, but like we're the Kardashians of the world, right? Everybody wants to watch us. And sure, if you had the opportunity to go and stay a week with the Kardashians and see them film their show, that would be great opportunity. But you wouldn't want to fucking live in that chaos. You wouldn't want to have to try and keep your sanity amongst that nonsense.
We're still here.
Right. We've got a good thing going.
No, But
obviously, look, the Kardashians have a good thing going. They've got a nice house. They've got a great life. I might be laughing at them for their idiocy, but they're laughing all the way to the bank at me. So what the fuck does it matter what my opinion is? But
to address Chris's point real quick, everything being equal, if I could pick some place to live, I don't know if the U.S. would be automatically the first place.
Yeah, if all things were equal amongst the world, like you didn't have to worry about governments or anything, you could just live wherever and have the same life that you want to.
If that's the case, I get the fuck out of here.
Right. Right. I would be in Norway. It looks beautiful.
But all governments are not equal.
No, they're not.
Bad.
I have a friend who just went to Ireland, and over there they're prosecuting comedians for blasphemy, like threatening to throw them in prison for years because they made a joke about the Catholic Church.
Right.
I mean, fucking Ireland, folks. This is the 21st century, 2018, and we have, quote unquote, the civilized world throwing. And by the way, they're not the. This isn't Sharia law or nothing. No. These are Catholics and Christians throwing people in jail for blasphemy. Come on now. I mean, you can say what you want about the U.S. And believe me, for all the bitching I do about the U.S., it's like anything else. Why do people go, our poor live better than any poor in any place else? Oh, and you're proud of that? You're proud that 20% of the country lives under the poverty line? I mean, how could you be proud of that? Oh, well, our poor, but I mean, at least they're not living in a tent in the middle of a desert starving. Yeah, and just like Sam Kinison said, because we realized we got deserts in America, we just don't live in them, asshole. All right? These people didn't have any other fucking choice. Just by pure fuckery or where they were born is where they I'm sorry, anybody that chose, did you guys, before your parents fucked, say, make sure you're within these geographical fucking lines?
Yeah, this is right after I checked the box that said male and white.
White? Yeah, I mean, exactly. I want to go prematurely gray at 18. I want an average size cock, and I want to be born right outside Detroit, Michigan. That's wonderful. No, I mean I look at America and I go, it has so much more potential, and I don't, I'm not one of those people that are like, it's the average person that fucks it up. It's the people behind the wheel who fuck it up, and it's been set up to where we live so well here that a true revolution, I don't know if it's ever going to happen in my lifetime.
We would always feel like we have too much to lose, and that too much would just be our comfort.
Exactly. I've someone had a meme that said, it was like some Indiana Jones type character. It was a cartoon, and he's searching for the scroll of truth. And he's like, after 15 years, I found it. And he opens it up and says, you and all your wannabe commie friends are too spoiled by capitalism to ever start a true revolution. And he throws the scroll away, pissed off. It's the truth. It's the truth. I'm not giving up my Wi-Fi. Yeah. I'm not giving up my Netflix. I'm not giving up, I don't own a whole lot, but for the most part, I can come home, shut the door, and not have to worry about police, armies, my neighbors busting through the door, taking me at gunpoint, hey, we're taking all your shit. Shut up or we'll kill you. It's like we were talking to Tom. The police don't do that shit here. I mean, okay, well, you get what I'm saying.
Well, okay,
we've been doing this podcast for damn near 4 years, and we haven't been arrested as dissidents.
Right.
Exactly.
But here, so what makes our system of government unique, at least so far, is that we can change without having to have a revolution. The way that I look at the way that our system of government was put together, it was looking at all these past experiences of when the wrong people get into power, there are no options left except the guillotine. And there has to be a better way to do that. And this is the result of that. This is checks and balances, safeguards against this. And so to say, a revolution sounds like something that is necessary, but a revolution to me implies that we would be overthrowing the way of government. And I don't think that that's what's broken. It's only the current people in charge of government that are broken. And it doesn't require a revolution to change that. It just requires participation in the current system. So that's why I still have so much optimism when we talk about this stuff. Like, yeah, the current people in power have distorted the meaning of our country, but and I guess, Chris, this goes majorly to your point when we were talking earlier about the outrage on Trump. It hasn't changed the core of the structure of it. There's still, the system is still in place to prevent these things.
There's buffoonery afoot. An idiot wormed his way in.
Right. So, people, I guess.
The sad part of that is, and this is something that I struggle with myself, because some days I wake up and I feel like, well, voting is absolutely useless. There's no point. It's like, okay, it's something to placate us. Okay, you can vote. Yeah, you're free. Now shut up and go back to fucking, working the register for us, because that's all you're good for. And other days I wake up and I'm like, over half this country didn't vote in the last presidential election.
Right.
And here's the thing. Politicians say, we want you to vote. We want you to vote. Really? Up until Trump, through executive order, got rid of the individual mandate, we would fine you for not having health insurance. Why don't you just fine people who don't vote? If politicians want you to vote so bad, believe me, they would compel you to vote. But they don't care, really. They just have to. The people who are going to vote, they have to convince just over 50% of them. Sometimes not even that much. They just have to convince people who are going to take the time to come vote to vote for them once every whatever, however long their term is. That's it. And another problem that we never really address in this country, and politicians that don't want it changed, is the fact that how much money is spent on a presidential campaign. Whereas other countries, there's a set limit. You get equal TV time. You have a period of time where you run. Trump won the election before he was even sworn in. Started campaigning again. That's what that victory tour was. It was.
Some say he still is.
I don't think he's ever really, in his mind, come off the campaign trail.
He's still trying to defeat Hillary.
Yeah,
dude, you did. It's over. It's been over. You were president for a year.
It's like it's like a preacher who's always preaching against gay sex, bro. I think you think about gay sex more than gay people do. He thinks about Hillary more than any Democrat I know. And if you go into any comment section that has any political bent to it whatsoever, within 10 comments you're going to get to lock her up, fuck her in her emails, and she's a traitor, and this and that. And it's like, are you people serious? You've won. She's not coming back in 2020. That's not going to happen. She took her shot. She missed badly. Whiffed horribly. So you don't have to worry about her no more. What are you still harping on this bitch for? But that's because in our society, it's constantly, we need politicians got to raise money, because whoever makes the most money can get the more ad time, can get more air time, et cetera.
Right, and you do that by having an enemy. You're not so much raising money because it's not about whether Trump should be president again. It's whether you want Hillary or whoever the Clintons deem as whoever, if anybody that they prop up. Actually, any of it doesn't even have to be political. Even somebody like Oprah, they can say, "Oh, well, she's tied to the Clintons," So he doesn't have to reform a new argument for whoever's going to run against him in 2020. He just has to, replace the name. Now he can talk about locking up Oprah or whoever's going to run next. Which I think, have we calmed down about the Oprah thing? Because that's just fucking ridiculous. I mean, unless you're really considering running this as the Oprah as a post-truth candidate, if you're thinking that the idea that we are in a post-truth era, that Trump is a symptom of that, and that in order to defeat him, you have to run somebody like him, then sure, I guess Oprah would be a good choice for that. My thoughts are there's so much on her television shows, on record, of her supporting insane ideas. Set aside fucking diet schemes and whatnot. Let's talk about vaccinations. Let's talk about the harm that she could possibly done with her platform to talk about how it might be dangerous to vaccinate your fucking kids. And now we've got measles. We've got fucking measles. We cured this shit.
I would just take politics out of it. Hey, everybody. Not a politician seems to be working out so well. Let's do it again.
That's the side I come down on.
That essentially goes hand in hand with the idea that we live in a post-truth society, right? I guess the difference here that I'm thinking about is whether you think that we live in a post-truth society and therefore we got Trump elected as president, or if it's the other way around. If Trump is causing the situation. Who knows?
He's the result of it. He's the manifestation of it.
So then I guess your answer to defeat Trump is to have Oprah then.
Jesus God. Maybe I might have to leave this country. I don't know. Just for my own sanity and blood pressure's sake. I can't.
Or, I use Oprah as shorthand. Oprah,
no, but meteors are going to have to be bigger.
Too bad that meteor wasn't like that one.
Nice try, space, not big enough.
Armageddon, yeah. Basically, all the worst parts of the Bible. But no, man. The minute I started seeing that shit, I'm like, is this where we're at as a country? To where we're just going to run whoever they think can beat him, not who's best for the country. And yeah, because that's how he got elected. That's how he got elected. People hated Hillary.
Yeah.
And look, I didn't want Hillary in office. To be honest with you, I'm not so sure that we'd be sitting here singing her praises if she had been elected at this point in her fucking presidency either.
We wouldn't be talking about her every day.
But a lot of that is because I don't think there's anyone in their right mind doesn't think that woman's an absolute grade A cunt, but she knows how to play the game. He doesn't play the game. He makes up the rules as he goes. He does what he wants. He's proven it. That is how he operates. Chris, you said it best. You people have said you wanted a businessman as a president. You got a businessman as a president. Businessmen live in their own little world. When they reach a certain level of success, they live in Trump. Trump lives in Trump land, and he doesn't bother to stick his head out the window and see what's going on in the rest of the world. He doesn't care, because in Trump land, what he wants goes. I mean, the fact that people have said they've had to explain to him why he can't just make a decree and it become a law is terrifying. But at the same time, pretty much if you're a businessman, that's what happens. We're going to lay off 5,000 workers. No one's going to argue with you. You're used to
writing a memo, and that shit happens.
Exactly.
Right.
And to me, I just no more celebrities, no more fucking.
But the question is though, if you were forced with the choice of Trump versus quote unquote Oprah, pick your celebrity who you think could defeat him. Would you vote? Would you vote for Oprah, or would you finally say enough is enough and abstain from voting, vote third party?
I would vote third party. I would vote for the next best person who's done government before on the ballot.
Right. See, I think I agree with you. I mean,
Because I'd be sending a message, no more celebrities. Let's get back to people who've... Because it's like, I was trying to rationalize it to my dad why I voted for Hillary. Because trust me, I felt like I needed a shower after that. I voted. But we're hiring someone for a job. I want someone with experience. She's done government before.
Yeah.
Oprah's not done government before. I don't care if she's made herself $1 billion. She's not been a politician.
But we still have...
Here's Dwayne Johnson.
Reality television is still popular. We still have this... Because reality television goes so hand in hand with social media in this way that we feel that that's how we get to know people is by their media presence. And that's, you want the presidency to be somebody that you can trust, and you can trust somebody that you feel like you know. So Trump has a media presence that you can identify. And Oprah has a media presence that you can identify. And, Obama had that presence because he was very capable, but also because he was the first black guy who looked like he actually had a shot. So
I think we just the truth is that and this isn't limited to our politicians. It's now just bled into it, because I have people I've known for most of my life, and they're blowhards and they're assholes and they're selfish and they're narcissistic, and they constantly hold court, whether it be online, whether it be at a party. People just gravitate towards them, and they're absolutely shit human beings. They'll lie to you. They'll tell you what you want to hear. They'll fuck you over in a heartbeat if they think it's going to get them one fucking cunt hair closer to their goal. And people are drawn to them. Yet someone who stands up in the corner or stands in a corner and tells the truth is an asshole. And it's been that way my entire life. It's just now it's like, it's just, now we elected the school bully president. That's what we did. He is the school bully. He is the rich bully asshole in every, the blow-dry jerk in every bad 80s fucking teen movie. And we elected him president. And who do we want now? Now we want the scrappy fucking sassy black chick to run against him. Really? It's not. It
really is a popularity contest.
We are.
I'm saving my vote for the robot girl. Have a robotic 8-year-old that'll run for president.
I mean, there was, when before the Oprah thing, before her fucking, live your own truth speech, which just makes me fucking want to chew on fucking tinfoil when I hear that nonsense.
That's kind of a dangerous message, isn't it?
Yeah, and the fact that people are standing up and applauding and are like, yeah, she should run for president. Really? We want more people who aren't in touch with reality to run this country. I mean, we accept that politicians live above us. That's just how it is in this country. Okay? And the bottom line is, and this goes for me too, until you want to roll out the guillotines and get your hands bloody, shut up about it. Because you are green-lighting it by your complicits. And that's just all there is to it. But
when did it shift from the truth to your truth?
I have Todd and I have talked on the phone, on Skype and messages about it a little bit, and I think a lot of it I can't okay, strike that. I almost wish we could edit that out. I don't even want to go down that road. If you guys want to talk about it off the air, and then we'll decide if we want to talk about it on the air at a different show, I'm for it. But it would go down some very ugly paths, and all I can say is way too much emphasis has been put on for the last couple generations now on you hurt my feelings. That's as bad as coming up and physically hurting me. No, it's not. Okay, get the fuck over yourself. And everybody live their own truth is part of that, because you can't hurt someone's feelings by pointing out reality to them. You're an asshole if you do it. Like I said, I'm the guy in the party in the corner who people come up and talk to me and want me, and they got a booger hanging out their fucking nose. I'm like, hey man, you got something on your nose there. oh, fuck, thanks for pointing it out, asshole. Oh, I'm sorry, would you like to walk around and act like, and then everybody act like they don't see it? I'd rather be told the truth. But we don't really want the truth. We say we do, but we don't. We want everyone to agree with us and not hurt our feelings. And that, to have someone who's even being talked about in a semi-serious light run for president, who's getting up there and basically saying there's no such thing as facts because truth is subjective. Yeah, that's a dangerous thing to put out there, because we see just how much Trump has fucking energized his base and emboldened people to speak up. I mean, that's how come the whole Charlottesville thing, everybody was seeing Nazis behind everything all of a sudden. Nazis everywhere. Not really. All they were emboldened. They were always there. They just kept their mouth shut. Or they went to stormfront.com or whatever the fuck websites they went to, and they just fucking were, yeah, we hate Negroes. Yeah, so do I. Yeah. And they just fucking talk to each other. Trump gave them the balls to go out in public. That's it. This is nothing new under the sun. So if that's the case, there are a lot of people who were watching that speech go, you know what, you go, girl. That's right. I live my own truth. And in my own truth, I'm never wrong. In my own truth, if you hurt my feelings, that's just as bad as you physically assaulting me. And I can't get with that. I cannot get with that. To be fair, that's not just an Oprah thing. There's a lot of politicians that are speaking that shit these days too. I mean, you have a sitting president who wanted to ban a book that was written about him that might be tabloid bullshit, might be 100% bullshit. Who the fuck knows at this point? Because why? Because it hurt his feelings? Get the fuck over yourself, dude. You serious? I mean, remember his no president in history has been more attacked than me? I'm sorry. Is your last name Kennedy?
He literally said this week, I don't know if you caught this, but he said, I am the least racist person you will ever meet. He said, literally from the racist handbook.
Did he throw in he's got a black friend? Did he bring was Ben Carson standing next to him when he said this?
But when you talk about the Trump voters, there was New York Times got a lot of flack over giving over its editorial column the other day to readers, Trump supporters that were New York Times readers, to have their say about what they think about the first year of the Trump presidency and how he's doing. And to think that you can get this guy on attitude, behavior, demeanor, any of that is short-sighted, because it's not going to do anything to erode his base, right? It's clear from these letters, everybody talks about, they talk about how he picks unnecessary fights and stuff like that. They don't really talk about him as a liar, although, I don't know. I guess that just doesn't bother them. That just goes in with his brash attitude, right? He's not a liar. He's a braggart. But
he's not cocky. He's convinced.
Isn't that how the Greatest Generation said asshole?
Right.
Yeah.
It was braggart.
Well, once again, it's whether people want to admit it or not, a large majority of them are attracted to those type of people for whatever reason. I don't know if it's because it's hardwired in our evolutionary DNA to be attracted to someone who's like, I know the way, I know everything, follow me, just do what I say and everything will be fine, because most people don't want to think that hard or don't like to think for themselves, or if we've been conditioned that way through modern life. I mean, when asking a question is as bad as burning a cross on someone's yard, in certain people's opinions, we've entered some pretty dangerous territory. I mean, that's one of the things that I have such a problem with the left these days is they want to shut up speech they don't like. They want to shut it down. The minute it gets to something they don't like, shut it down. And they're fine with that. And me, I argue back, I don't want to shut you down.
I'm 21 years old and I've formed all the opinions that I need to. My brain is set in stone. I will never change.
Yeah, right.
No more information. That's
But the
basically
problem
what
with
you're
people-
saying. I mean, think of how dumb you are when you're 20s. You thought you knew everything. Come on.
Right?
Yeah, by the time I hit 30, I realized I didn't know shit then, and I didn't know shit at 30.
Right.
Yeah.
And the older you get, the more you realize that you're just not going to know everything.
Exactly.
That's one of the hallmarks of getting older.
Yeah.
At 40, if I can't Google it or YouTube video how to fix it, I got to call a specialist, and I don't beat myself up for it no more. I've just accepted my limitations.
Yeah, or it ain't worth knowing at this point.
But no, that's the problem with people when I try to explain to people, look, I don't want to shut down speech that I don't like. I don't want to make conversations that are uncomfortable to me illegal or to shout them down in public. But the problem is these people don't care. They don't care. They're too comfortable with, I don't like what you're saying, shut up, we have to shut you up. And because they're okay with that, you can't explain freedom of speech to them. You can't explain having a dialogue with them because it's not in their skill set to understand that.
And nobody realizes how authoritarian that is.
Well,
I don't like what you're saying. Shut it down. Really?
There's a difference.
They
though.
loved you in Russia in the early part of the 20th century.
This idea that younger generations are, they're like a rebel without a cause, or they're just short-sighted. They don't really know anything. It's nothing new. It's the reverence that we give to younger generations now that has fed into
And it's
this.
the fucking, what's the word I'm looking for here? The gravitas coming from them. It's not the word I wanted, but it's what I wanted to get across. Of, how right they think it's the righteousness that comes from them. They are so righteous in the fact that they don't want to hear anything else. They're just jumping and claiming that moral high ground. And
I was at work. I was at work a couple months ago, and the subject of bisexuality and homosexuality came up, and I'm just like, oh boy, this always ends well. And one of my other coworkers starts talking, and he's like, well, I believe if you're gay or if you're bisexual or pansexual or whatever the fuck, that you're going to hell. And oh boy, all hell broke loose. Like the general manager got texted. I'm going to send this person home. I can't deal with this. It's them or me. And I'm just like, I'm sitting there, and after all hell had broke loose and it was done and over with, I'm talking to some of the people that were involved, and I said, let me ask you a question. Do you believe in hell? No. So why do you care that he said you're going to hell?
Right.
Why does it matter? If I told you that Santa Claus is going... If I told you that... that went over like a turd in a punch bowl. If I told you Santa Claus was going to come through this front door and rape you, would you honestly think you're about to be raped by Santa Claus? No. Why? Because Santa doesn't exist. So why do you care that he's fucking telling you something he picked up in a big book of Jewish fairy tales, book 2 in the Desert Trilogy? Why does it matter? Why does it fucking matter? Why do you have to shut him up? Why do you... And it became just like, let him say and think what the fuck he wants. It doesn't hurt you. Words are not violence until they're inciting violence. He's not saying, I'm going to kill you and send you to hell. That would be a problem. But just, you asked him his opinion, he gave it to you, then you got mad that he gave you his opinion. How does that work?
You got mad that he could think that. You're upset that... Well,
and believe me, I think he's an idiot.
Sure.
But you have a right to be an idiot.
Yeah, you got a right to be as stupid as you want to be. Thank God, or else I don't think many of us would have gotten through our teenage years without going to prison for stupidity.
Yeah, right.
Right. There's a core thing that you guys disagree on, and it's not even really about sexuality. It's clearly about religion, right? He didn't even say, I think it's disgusting. He said, I think if you do it, you're going to hell. Well, that's reflecting his religious beliefs. It's making no judgment himself. He believes in a God who judges people who are gay or pansexual or whatever they may be, and he therefore believes that those people are unsavable. But it would be different to say, I find them disgusting. And that's where most of this starts. That's the connection, right? A lot of people say that it's an affront to God, it's against the religion and all this stuff because they find it personally disgusting. It's kind of it's another case where God is used as a shield. Like, I think it's gross and unnatural, and I don't understand it, so I'm going to believe that God thinks it's such. Because we're only really crafting these gods in our own images, especially now. You pick your religion, you're cherry picking it so hard that it doesn't. It's meaningless.
Well, it's the same thing that I had a conversation with one of the people involved in this altercation from a couple months ago, and it was a one-on-one conversation. And I said, "Now, I'm heterosexual. You want me to be brutally honest with you? The idea of me sucking dick repulses me. It just like if you talk to my buddy Corey, who's gay, the idea of eating pussy repulses him. Okay, why? He's not attracted to women. Now, why is one okay and the other I'm a homophobe? And this person goes, well, you're not a homophobe. It's just that's not what you're into. You're not trying to stop other people if they're gay from being gay. I said, exactly. But you can't walk around and go, everybody has to be so cool with everything that we're willing to get down on our knees and be the ookie cookie in the middle of an all-gay bukkake fest. It's bullshit.
What's that article you sent from Vice
if you're a straight guy and you're not stuffing things up your butt, then you're a homophobe.
No, wasn't it like, admit it, guys, we all like butt stuff or something like that? It's like, what?
Oh, yeah. It was basically if you're repressing yourself if you don't stick things up your ass. And it's like, look, man, I'm about as open as any fucking book you're going to find in a library about my sex life. I've had a finger up my ass. I didn't enjoy it, all right? I tried it. I didn't like it. I moved on. It's not that big of a fucking deal, all right? But to sit there and go, well, you didn't like it because you're a homophobe. Really? Really? That's why I didn't like it? So it's just like, if you talk to women and they're like, that's nasty. I'll never let a guy fuck me in the ass. What about those two gay guys over there? Oh, they're so brave. Why? Because they butt fuck each other? The thing that you just said was gross? It's gross to you. Do you understand that? It's not gross to everybody. I'm not trying to impose my view on everybody else. You're so worried about this person said something that offended me. I need to shut it down because how dare you offend me that you're staring at a tree missing the forest here. Okay? So they have an opinion you don't agree with. Move the fuck on. Don't bring the subject up. Believe me, if this guy who said that at work had continued to bring that subject up and would not let it drop, he wouldn't be working there. Well, he's not working there anymore, but it's not for that reason. He'd have been let go over it. All right. This was just a conversation that happened because it was a down slow period at work, and someone asked him his opinion. And I'm like, you asked his opinion. You started this fucking conversation.
Right. Hey, since we're talking about sex, let's talk about Aziz Ansari. Because
Tom Haverford?
Who?
Tom Haverford. That was his name on Parks and Recreation.
Oh.
He's my second favorite part of Parks and Recreation.
Right.
Okay, real quick before we start, I have to ask. I've read the article I sent when I first saw it, didn't go into detail. Apparently there's an article from babe.com or .net that is the her side of the story. This they're using the name Grace. I guess that's not a real name, though.
Right. Yeah.
So the article I read didn't have 80% of what I've heard that was in that article. And to be honest with you, I just forgot to read it. Have you guys read this Babe article about the story?
I have skimmed it.
No, I have not read the article. I've read about it.
Okay.
So, but I believe I understand the encounter as well as a third party could.
Okay, I just want to, because that was the thing. Because at first it sounded like he went, the way the first article I read was he went down on her. She sucked on his fingers, and she was uncomfortable, and that was it. And then it was, no, she actually had oral sex with him. They got naked, this and that. And I'm like, okay, all that was left out of the article I read. So I don't know how.
But then there's also things too in that article of several times she tried to tell him she wasn't into it, and he was just kind of ignored. Like there's questionable behavior from both of them, quite honestly.
Well, okay, so what she describes is lots of nonverbal cues that she wasn't into it, that Aziz apparently ignored. Now, as far as saying flat out, no, I'm not comfortable with what's going on here, he did stop when she gave him the actual no verbally. She said that they hung out for a little bit after that. They continued, they had a couple more drinks, and he continued to be creepy and make sexual advances to her.
I'd say moving my hand off your cock 9 times is pretty decent signal. Like,
is that a number? 9 times?
No, I think it was like 8 or 9 times. Yeah. Like she said, like he took her hand, put it on his dick. She moved it off. Like this just sounded like a really awful bad date.
That move works for some guys.
There's questionable behavior from both of them. Like if you're not into it, blowing him didn't help your cause. You know.
Yeah.
Like
I've never once been like, oh my God, let me just eat this chick's pussy so she'll go away. Because usually oral sex is a precursor to something else. It's your opening shot. It's not, you don't usually, in my experience at least, it's, there's heavy petting, oral sex, and then intercourse follows. So in my mind, if I'm giving a girl head, I'm thinking she's probably thinking that we're going to do something more besides that. And to be brutally honest, the only time it's never went on to anything else after that is if like somehow we were interrupted. This was it most of the time when I was younger. Like, you're at a buddy's house and hey, we're in the room alone, blah, 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 and you hear someone coming in and you real quick, you end it and it's like, okay, all right. That's the only time I've ever stopped. So I don't get that.
Well,
I don't get that. I don't get the thinking of I'm going to blow him and he's going to just go, oh, okay, I'm done now. Unless you did it to completion. And I mean, if that's the case, most guys need a recharge time.
First of all, I don't start it unless I plan on finishing that shit. Like, that's not just a warm-up activity. That's the whole first act. So,
wait a minute. So if your dick's in a chick's mouth, I'm nutting.
Oh wait, I thought we were talking about me going. I thought we were talking about me going down on her.
Well,
and never
either
mind.
way.
Well, listen, I lost the thread of that one. So,
she has only got one bullet in the gun. What's going on here?
The response to this has been interesting because it hasn't been the total onslaught that we've seen. I mean, because this is clearly just on an awkward date, like you were describing, right? This isn't some serial abuser like others that are being defined by this Me Too movement. But there is talk about. I heard reference today on a Slate podcast, a woman talking about yes means yes. I mean, we've heard about no means no, right? We had to learn that in the 90s, that when a woman said no, that she really meant it. And this idea
and then you got called a faggot if you didn't keep trying by some women.
That too, right? So, all right. So if women want if they want yes to mean yes, if they want to have to give and receive verbal confirmation of what is happening, then that's great. Let's go for that. You're basically saying no more games, right? Nobody. It's not appropriate to play hard to get.
Well, the first
you
thing
have
I
to tell me if you want to fuck me.
The first thing I took away from...
I'll go for those rules. Like, let's not fuck around.
The first thing I took away from how they met was the fact that they met while she was on a date with another guy, and she took his phone number. All right, now if you're going to talk about nonverbal cues, That's telling me you're down to fuck.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah.
Okay, if I'm on a date and Usher walks up and starts singing to my date and she hands him the digits, the date's over with, bitch. Hey, Usher, pick up the fucking tab, right? Okay, first of all, period. That's right there. So
she wants to bang a celebrity. That's what he's thinking, and she just forgot where my dick was. So,
so if right there, right there, it's like, okay, you pretty much are. You were talking about. I sent him nonverbal cues. Yes, you did, sweetheart, in more ways than you realized. Second of all, when they start drinking, he gave her white wine, and she goes, "I don't like white wine. I liked red wine, but I didn't say anything." What the fuck does that have to do with anything?
I know, right?
This is. I'm like,
That's
okay. First of all,
describes a pattern of behavior. Her needs were not being met.
Yeah.
She was not being heard, which that's a valid argument. You had a bad time.
Is it the just fact of the matter is it just possible that she's a star fucker, and he wasn't everything that she thought he was going to be?
Right.
He was just look at Aziz Ansari. How do you pronounce his last name?
Aziz Ansari.
Aziz Ansari. Okay, look at him. If Homeboy wasn't a comedian and Homeboy wasn't on Scrubs and Parks and Rec and all that shit, dude, you'd be fucking your fist quite a bit.
Nah, he's charming, man. I think he's cute. I'd break him off some.
Get that drop. But
I know, right?
okay. But still, he just sounds like a guy who just doesn't have game.
I don't know
for whatever
if this chick would have been with him.
Well, he just sounds like a guy that doesn't have game for whatever reason. And ladies, please, going back to my first point, if you're on a date and a man approaches you and he's giving off the "I'm interested in you sexually" vibe while you're on a date, he's not looking at you as wifey material, okay? Basically, he's saying, "I know that you're a slut and let's fuck." And if you don't like that, then you tell him politely
I'm
first,
not that kind of girl.
"I'm on a date. I think it's rude for you to come over here and start pitching woo to me in front of me and my date." And if you don't take that, then get firm with him. Look, that's one of the things that when we brought it up last week about these women in France who are like, you American women, you're kind of pussies. Like, grow some fucking ovaries and stand up for yourself. If a guy comes on to me and he puts his hand on my thigh and I don't want it there, I remove his hand from my thigh and say, "Don't do it again." Right. If he does it again, I slap the shit out of him.
Well, right. This story is being put out there like it's saying something about Aziz Ansari's behavior, but that's not accurate because you could swap out the woman in that scenario and probably find a number of women that would have a really good time. Like, hey, and Aziz Ansari not only likes to fuck, he gives head, and that's great because I wanted to fuck him. And
once again, I just
his aggressive moves would have probably totally worked on them, and they would have had no issues. So it's not about his behavior, and really it illustrates the girl's behavior. And let's say that like this stuff happens. Girls have bad experiences. They have times where they participate in sexual acts and don't fully enjoy themselves, and that's really kind of sad. But it's because they're not giving these strong verbal cues when things aren't going their way. What she describes is a whole night where shit didn't go her way. She had a bad date from beginning to end. From how she met this guy to how to where they started out with, drinking white wine. She didn't want to. Okay, you're describing that things already started going south, and yet you ended up naked and blowing this guy. So where's the problem here? And the problem is in your behavior, acting against your own wishes. Why are you doing this? That's what needs to be analyzed. He is guilty of being horny, of being a star who thought that somebody wanted to fuck him because they just wanted to hook up with the star, and he probably does that because he's good looking, single, and famous, and rich. So fucking what?
I just
got that Netflix money.
I go back to thinking that clip I sent you guys, Patrice O'Neill. What rapist wants to make you feel wonderful? He went down on you, sweetheart. Are you serious? What rapist goes? Well, I want to make her feel pleasure, and I'm getting nothing in return. He didn't 69 her.
Well, okay, but correct me if I'm wrong. I have not seen anyone refer to him as a rapist. I know that by putting him in with the crowd of people who actually have raped would be guilt by association, but like I said, a lot of the stories about this, some of them have been women outraged that this is the creepy guy behavior that we don't like, right? That's what they want to talk about. And then there's other people talking about, look, if you want to have a discussion about creepy guys, that's fine, but that's not the Me Too movement. Me Too movement is about predators. Me Too movement is about male dominance.
It's
not about
right. As
bad
far as
dating experiences.
As far as articles that have been published that I've read, no one's called him a rapist. It's the court of public opinion that's calling him. There's people in the court of public opinion calling him a rapist. And I think too long now we've said, well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. No, it does fucking matter. Because these are real people on the other end of those fucking comments running around thinking that because a date goes south, that's rape. And I'm sorry, but the fact that she went to her friends afterwards and her friends convinced her she was assaulted.
Yeah.
Why do you have to go back to your sewing circle, sweetheart? Let me tell you something. Back in my band days, I was in a situation where I was stuck where we were rehearsing, and I got completely lit at this practice. Right? I barely remember the end of the practice. I don't remember getting home. I was waiting for my then wife to come pick me up, and she worked until 2. And the next practice, because it was at somebody's house who had a roommate, the story come out, so you fucked my roommate. And I went, excuse me? I fucked your roommate? I didn't fuck your roommate. Like, bro, I was in the garage after practice, I guess still drinking. Well, that's what she said. I don't remember that. And if that happened, then I guess I was raped. Because I don't remember it, period. I'm pretty sure if sex happened and you're blacked out, you can't give consent, correct?
Absolutely.
Now, to this day, I don't know if this was his roommate talking shit or if this was something that really happened. But I didn't go to my friends and go, so what do you guys think? Do you guys think I was raped, or you think I just, hey, I got a free one and I don't remember it? I don't need their opinion. If you cannot figure out how you feel about something, then what you do is you go, I should have spoke up sooner. The fact that if you can't tell someone, I don't like white wine, can we get red wine instead? If you're that uncomfortable speaking up, that is a you issue. And it's not up to everybody else to put safety padding on the world because you can't speak up, you're not comfortable, right? Get some therapy or something. I don't know what to fucking say. Does he come off as a creep? Absolutely, he comes off as a creep. Same way that fucking Franco come off as a creep talking to a 17-year-old when he was 35. That's some creepy fucking shit. But it happens. It's not illegal, though.
How come everybody forgets about Jerry Seinfeld nailing a 17-year-old and he was 38?
That's creepy as fuck in my opinion, too. Even though that chick was not built like a 17-year-old. He was 17 going on 29, man. Holy shit. But look, yes, he's maybe not the greatest guy. He obviously doesn't have very good fucking moves when it comes to his sexual repertoire. He obviously doesn't.
Aziz, we're talking about now?
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously not very good at reading. I
probably would have had a good time with him if I had a vagina.
Man, so many drops to get from this episode.
But seriously, I think there's a middle ground. I don't think this is necessarily everything that I've heard commenters and people make comments about. He assaulted her. This is basically rape. I don't think it's that, but I don't think it's fucking give him a pass either. Like, dude, I'm with you, Chris. 9 times she removed her hand from his dick. Let me tell you something. as a guy, I've maybe used that move twice. And if they take their hand off my dick, that's a pretty clear indication they don't want it to be there.
I think by 4 or 5, I'd get the point.
You get what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it's like, dude, I don't need confirmation 8 times over. I got it the first time, definitely got it the second time. Now I'm being, and yeah, ladies, if you're listening to this and you're pissed off, then talk to your fellow gender, because some women like to play hard to get.
Yeah, when you get together at the meeting, bring it up.
Aaron, it's just like, well, obviously they have their little sewing circles and talk about whether they were sexually assaulted after a date with Aziz Ansari. So, I mean, I don't know what to say. Aaron, it's like you said. You can't have it both ways. You can't say yes means yes and you need verbal consent, but I'm going to send nonverbal cues and you're supposed to pick up on that. It doesn't work. And that, to me, that's the bigger conversation about this particular story, not about Me Too. Not about Weinstein, not about Kevin Spacey, about this particular story. That is the issue, is that men and women need to learn to communicate a lot better. And I'm sorry, women, you hold the power when it comes to sex. Unless a guy is going to rape you, you hold the power. You're the key masters of the pussy. It's your job to give us the cues. You got to be like the Weather Channel, sweetheart. Constant updates. Let us know what you... If you don't like this, let us know.
Can we get a humidity reading?
This is a power dynamic, though, that can be changed by technology. And a woman of the
There's an app for that? Is that where this is going?
The woman from the not too distant future is
a moisture sensor,
going to not be in competition with just other women, but a virtual woman. A porn robot or whatever the fuck.
Oh, have you seen the pictures of the sex doll making the rounds on the internet?
Which there's one currently going around. Which one?
Hold on a sec.
I've seen these shits before.
I mean, this is like a dude made a video and he's like, a buddy of mine was talking about this.
Like his
buddy of mine was talking about this sex doll and he was like, so I had to roast him. And then he showed him the sex doll. And he went, well, I'm just going to leave my wife right now. I mean, he's like, this is, I mean, it's, here, I'll just send it to you guys. It's going to be in the group chat. Great podcast. You can't see it, but I will put it up on the Facebook page. If you click on the video, it'll only take you a few seconds till he shows the picture of it.
Robot sex doll in a Barcelona brothel has replaced women with them? What? It's clickbait, Google.
Jesus.
His reaction when he sees it just cracked me up, and I'm like, dude, that's like I'm like, God damn, that thing's doing that. Like, she's bent over looking back at him, through her open legs. I'm like, that's not the blow up dolls that get passed around at bachelor parties as a joke. Like, hey, we got your stripper here. You got to go inflate her.
Whoa, that's a fucking doll?
Yeah.
Yeah, ladies, step your game up.
I've been saying that for a while now, but
they could just as well all fuck each other and just say, hey, we don't give a fuck. Dildos feel great. If I can get a dildo and somebody who just pays attention to my needs, then that's fine.
And
it's got to have ATM, attached to it. Remember we discussing that earlier?
I'll say this.
You just install a cheap camera on it and it'll make money on its own.
There you go.
I'll say this.
Put a GoPro on that bitch.
I've been hearing all my life from angry, bitter, whatever you want to call it, women. I don't need no man. I'll get me a vibrator, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, well, there we go, ladies. You now have competition. And it's funny because out of the woodwork comes all this outrage. Really? That's the difference between men and women. We don't care if you go fuck yourself with a vibrator. Bottom line is, are you going to have sex with me? No. On to the next one. Period. They're upset. There's women up there upset. This is sexist. This is horrible. Really?
Well,
If they come out with a doll that looks like Brad Pitt, a male version of this doll.
Right.
You really fucking think that I'm going to be upset? No. Go fuck him.
Yeah. Well, and Aziz Ansari was clearly looking for a hookup. This woman seemed to be giving off signals that she was down for that hookup. But clearly, looking back on it, that was uncomfortable for her. She wasn't comfortable with just the hookup. There's no crime there. There's no behavior that even needs to be modified. These are two people that got together and didn't want the same thing. Happens all the time. They go their separate ways.
I think a lot of the outrage...
The
a lot of the outrage... I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, it's because now the public has to weigh in on this. There's no going back from this. We're going to have to hear about everybody's sexual encounters, right? Because we have to judge for ourselves now. We hear about what James Franco did, and we have to weigh that out against what somebody like Bill Cosby did on the other side of the spectrum versus Aziz Ansari. Whether you're doing it quote unquote right or wrong, we're going to have to hear about it, and I think that's kind of ridiculous. But anyway,
I think a lot of the outrage comes from the fact that, or a lot of the outrage that I'm reading in a court of public opinion from the people who are outraged. It seems like they're angry that how dare he just want sex. Okay,
right.
I don't know how to put this any other way.
Perfectly within his rights.
Women, you have to accept. Some guys are going to look at you and see a wife, a kids, a house, a dog, a cat, grow old, die together, whatever. Some guys are going to look at you and see just a blowjob and some pussy, and if I can talk her into it, some anal. That's it.
Well,
you're going to have to accept that. I don't know any other way to put it. You are all not completely special to every man.
Right.
Some guys are just a hole.
Well, this is why Aziz is a woke bae, because I think a lot of people in his power, certainly the traditional idea of somebody who is famous and has money and is decent looking. It's not just about that they would go out with a girl and just expect them to want to fuck them. They would be offended if the girl didn't want to, right? I mean, Aziz didn't, when she actually said, no, I'm not liking where this is going, let's stop this. He didn't say, are you fucking kidding me? What the fuck did you come here for then? Get the fuck out of here. He didn't kick her out. They actually hung out further and had drinks. I don't.
Christ, he texted her the next morning.
I don't know what you want then. If you have a problem with Aziz Ansari's behavior, I don't know what it is that you want.
I mean, I'm going to say, yeah, homeboy needs to fucking work on reading the room a lot better than he apparently does.
They were both drinking.
That's nothing. That might be another factor in this. This is something that the older I get, I'm like, wow, you add horny people and alcohol, and that's just a recipe for disaster. It's just bad news all around.
Hey, man, Dr. Dre had a song about it. All these bitches and all these hoes in here, somebody here gonna fuck. It's the truth.
Dude, it's just a dangerous combination. All right, and the sad part is it's not going anywhere. There's nothing that all this huffing and puffing and tutting from Hollywood to the rest of society about a problem that's rampant in their industry, but somehow it's everybody else's fault, not their industry's fault. Nothing's going to change. Nothing is going to change.
Right.
There are going to be guys who feel that I bought you dinner and you ordered the surf and turf. You ordered from the fucking side of the menu. Now I'm fucking tonight one way or the other. There's going to be guys that feel that way, and they're fucking assholes, ladies. We know it. But
you ordered the bottle of wine and went, "Oh, goody, anal."
Well, no. But that third bottle, of course, we'll order that for you.
Right, but that's diluting the conversation, right? It's been pointed out, and it's very true that there's a lot of the behavior of a person like Harvey Weinstein that does exist in just, a waitress working at a restaurant trying to get a good shift. That fucking shit does go down. Again, Aziz Ansari and this bad date that he had, it's not even that bad. They had some fun, right?
Yeah.
But
somebody came. I mean,
right. That has zero to do with trickling down anywhere. People are going to have bad dates all the time. This is not the problem. I know that this is a very high profile, Hollywood, politician type of thing that these people that are being that are being exposed, and of course, those are going to be the stories, right? It's not. Nobody's going to read about the waitress. Nobody's going to give a shit about the waitress ultimately. And anyone who's willing to cast the net that wide that Aziz Ansari suffers from this doesn't really give a shit about anything except for celebrity and gossip. They don't give a shit that this will possibly trickle down, this behavior, that if we can topple male dominance in the industry of Hollywood, then we can do it for other businesses, all the way down to small businesses, that we can help protect women everywhere in this country. But that's not what you really care about if you're willing to put everybody's behavior under the microscope in this way. You are just about the juicy details ultimately and wanting to judge famous people. So did you guys check out the fake news awards?
Well,
yeah, we're not on them.
Before we jump to that, real quick, I just want to say,
okay,
at some point there's a school of thought with certain people that anything overly masculine is bad,
aggressive. Yes, yeah,
and yeah, it can be, but something that I've said this to women before, and they go, "Really? Are you being serious?" And I'm like, "Yes." There's a quickest way to get a guy going, most guys at least, is for a woman who lets you know exactly what she wants, how she wants it, and is motivated. That's a turn on. That's a turn on to most guys. Now I get that some guys aren't like that, but that's I don't want some I'm uncomfortable with my body and I don't want you to turn off the light and I'm going to leave my shirt on when we have sex. No, I don't want that. Most guys don't want that. Ladies, speak up. Don't be afraid to speak up. And just like speaking up, when I said you couldn't tell him you don't like white wine, could we have red instead? Speak up in the bedroom. If you are not comfortable, tell the guy that. If the guy is thinking you're playing hard to get, you know how you end that shit? You get up and you fucking leave. It's really now. Once again, if there's a difference between the average guy you go, look, I'm not comfortable. I told you no, I'm leaving, and you walk out the door. That's what most guys are going to do. If you got a guy who tries to stop you, kick him in his balls. Whatever the fuck you got to do, get the fuck out of there because you got a psychopath on your hands. All right, but we're not talking about the psychopaths right now. We're talking about your average guy. Because, believe me, we are more nervous than you will ever understand most of the time. The first encounter with someone who you think you're vibing with can go wonderfully or it can go horribly. I mean, it's just, and it's a very fine line between the two. And if we don't know, if we're not reading the situation properly, let us know. Don't worry about our feelings, because you know what's gonna be more hurtful and embarrassing? This shit the next day. Because I did see, she kept the text that he said, "Hey, I had a good time last night, blah blah blah, hit me up later." And she's like, "Well, I'm glad you had a good time, but I didn't." And then just, wham, a wall of text back at him. And it's like, no guy wants that, because
no,
you feel like such a fucking piece of shit. You feel like, oh my God, what the fuck is wrong with me? Why didn't I see this?
Well, yeah, I was thinking about this while you were talking, like how I would feel in that situation, and I would be immediately embarrassed and confused that I misread the situation. I mean, even from the whole thing, starting with the wine all the way to the oral sex, like if there's any part of this that you didn't enjoy and you didn't speak up, like I'm really embarrassed that I pushed it. If I'm Aziz Ansari in this situation. My next thought, though, is also, well, if there was any thought that this girl would be somebody that could be in a long-term relationship, this is clearly not the case, because I am somebody who appreciates being with somebody who has an opinion and speaks their mind and is able to talk to me about things that they like and don't like, even in casual ways. Like, like ideally, if I offered white wine to my date and they didn't like it, they'd be like, well, I'm not drinking that shit. And either we find something else to drink or we go out to the bar or something. But
yeah, don't you think? Let's just to play what if for a split second. If she'd have just spoke up at that point, maybe the whole tone of the date would have went different.
Right. If she got there and she was like, look, I want to hang out with this guy. I think he's cool. I'm not sure I want to fuck him yet. Then you go, I don't want the white wine. Let's go to the bar down the street and grab a beer. Okay. Are you going to say no to that?
Yeah, I don't know any guy that, you don't drink white wine? That's it. Date's over with.
Right.
I don't want the pussy anymore because you drink white wine. I don't know any guy that's going to say that.
It's my way or the highway.
I now have stopped wondering what it's going to feel like on the inside of your vagina because you don't like white wine.
Yeah, it's not.
Said no man ever.
It's on us to make to be the pursuers.
Yeah.
Well, when it comes to sex, and
if it
then
was me, I wouldn't have white wine. I don't know what he's doing drinking that piss, but whatever.
It's on
you don't like a Pinot Grigio?
I've never had one I liked. I could be educated.
It's because it's like 12% alcohol. That's why I like it.
It's on us to be the pursuers in sex, but then we're not. Women do not understand what it's like when you know that that's the role that most women expect of you, but at the same time, all they're going to do is fucking tell you what you've done wrong. How about telling me what I did right? How about, a little verbal communication? None of us are mind readers, all right? And that's what irritates me about this story. I mean, guys, if a woman says I'm not comfortable, I'm pretty sure it's done for most guys. It's done. There might be a little bit of maybe she's playing hard to get, but women, the tone of voice you can say something in to get your point across very well. Don't act like you don't. And I just all this criticism, it just seems like it's a no-win situation. If he wasn't thinking, okay, she's playing hard to get, or she kind of likes the chase a little bit, the back and forth, the sexual tension. Because I've met plenty of girls like that where the sexual tension you could cut with the knife and they love it, they encourage it, and it's hard for guys, and all the focus is being put on, all these poor women. Really, I mean, if someone was doing something to you didn't like sexually and you spoke up and they stopped, does that require an article on some a website to go into great detail about the date? No, it's just okay.
Well, I think it is. I do think this poor woman, because I think this poor woman doesn't have the self-confidence enough to stand up for herself.
That I agree with.
And that is sad.
But if you say that in front of certain,
we should look at what creates that. I mean, if you want to say that there's something in general about Aziz Ansari's behavior that expands to what men do that help create this environment, okay, I'm open to that discussion. Let's explore that. I'm not saying that's a completely wacko idea.
I guess my beef.
Why does Aziz Ansari have to be the example of this? Because he's famous?
Aaron, I guess to boil it down,
it's a subject worth talking about that doesn't really have anything to do with the subject that we're talking about.
I guess if you boil it down to what I have the most problem with is that when this subject comes up, the conversation seems to be men are being talked at and told what they all the things they have to change, but any conversation about what the woman could have been different is shouted down as toxic masculinity, rape culture, patriarchy, whatever fucking label you want to put it on. And it's like, it sounds like two fucking people who were just awkward, and we've said it a million times already, had a bad date. Yep. It happens. All right? It's not the end of the world. All right? And
they didn't want the same thing at the same time.
I resent being talked to and told everything that fucking you do, you have to change, from someone who isn't willing to change one thing about themselves that could easily diffuse the situation. Why am I an asshole because you didn't speak up? Why am I an asshole because I didn't pick up on your nonverbal cues? That's my problem. It's this, it goes back to, we're painting women as like these frail flowers. Isn't this setting women back? I mean, seriously, to go, oh, well, some women aren't comfortable speaking up. Then teach them to be comfortable to speak up, okay? Why is that wrong to say? I don't think it is. I think it's common sense. Something that's happening sexually you're not comfortable with, speak up. I know they told us that in school. Did they stop teaching that at some point? I highly doubt it in today's fucking climate that they've stopped teaching that.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm getting at. It just doesn't sit well with me to go, well, this is all on men to do something about this. It's not all on us. Just like every woman I've ever been in a relationship loves to tell me, it's a two-way street. We both have to try. Well, guess what? It's a two-way street, sweetheart. We both have to try.
I don't think it's about behavior that needs to be modified on either side. I mean, isn't this just the struggle? Isn't this called dating?
Aaron, I used to think so. I used to think so, but apparently we've reached a point where, and it's getting more and more, this mindset's getting more and more pervasive, that what we used to think of as dating is harassment or borders on assault, and it's toxic. So what do you fair? I think it's a fair question. What do you want then? What do you want? And if you can't answer that question, then sit down and go think about it until you have an answer.
Man, most of my first date
spits out 20s.
Most of my first date with Mandy was borderline sexual harassment. I was pretty much thinking the whole time, like, man, how am I going to sleep with this chick?
Isn't that
most first dates? How am I going to sleep with this woman? How can I do it tonight? Oh, she's going to make me wait till another night.
There was a Nightline story that they took a woman who she had very masculine features, gave her classes and training and dressed her up as a man, and she lived as a man in her social life for a couple months. And this woman saw exactly what most women don't see. It's really interesting. She's like, it's very different how men and women perceive sex. For guys, it's almost like a need. It's a physical thing. She's like, for me as a woman, it's more emotional. I'm more in my head. If I'm attracted to someone, it's more of a, it's a connection I have with them. Versus a guy can just look at a girl he has no idea of anything about and be like, oh, I want to fuck her. And that's just how we are wired. We can't change that just because.
That's a hate fact. That is a hate fact, Rich.
We can't change it just because it makes you uncomfortable, because that's not how you look at the world. How about this? How about it makes me uncomfortable that you see all this bullshit connection between us when we just met? That I'm so attracted to you on a spiritual level. That makes me uncomfortable. You need to change that. Now, how ridiculous does that sound? It sounds fucking stupid. It sounds like something a child would say. And that's how you sound when you go, stop being a man. Stop having sexual desires. Okay. Yeah, well, I'll get right on that.
Yeah, it's part of this puritanical core that we have in America, though, where we've separated the idea of sex and relationships, that we think of them as incompatible things. If somebody is just out to have sex, that's not ever somebody that you could have a real relationship with, is the understanding that there's only really two types of people. There's players and there's guys that are willing to settle down. And that people go through phases in their lives. depending on what's compatible with their needs. Whether they want a relationship or not has nothing to do with whether they want sex or not.
Yeah, because I mean,
it's called having a dick.
It's I've said this to women all my life. If you could crawl in my head for 5 minutes, at the end of those 5 minutes, you would run away screaming because you'd go. It'd be like crawling into an alien's head. You couldn't comprehend why the shit that and this isn't shit I dwell on. I'm not saying crawl in my head when I'm on ecstasy and horny out of my mind. Just crawl in on any day. Just for 5 minutes.
Just show up on Tuesday.
Or just, you know, if we could understand MRIs better, just be like, see this little part of my brain that lights up? That's just going constantly thinking about boobs. I'm not even actively thinking about them, but in the back of my head, it's constantly going. Just boobs,
it's like
24/7.
It's like subliminal backmasking in music. It's just there. And most guys learn to at least compartmentalize it and be like, keep it down to a dull roar. We're at work. It's not the proper time to think of pussy. But I'm going to tell you what, when a customer comes through the door who's hot, I don't know. I wonder what her favorite book is.
Yeah.
I'm like,
well, and Aaron, too, I'll support your theory. It's what you're into. It's either boobs, or it's ass. It's one or the other.
Legs.
Yeah. there was a comedian, I forget who it was, but it was back when Viagra first came out, and he was riffing on it, and he was just talking about like, why would you want to keep it, why would you want to make it go back to how it was when you were younger? When you get older, like, it's supposed to calm down and you're supposed to finally have some peace and fucking quiet.
Right.
It's the truth. That's what I had a girlfriend at one point.
I still get a boner when I get bored at work.
I had a girlfriend.
I'm talking like now. I'm talking like 20 years from now. I think it's what I'm talking about.
I had a girlfriend in my 20s who was horrified to find out that in school, after like the age of like 11 or 12, just at random times my dick would get hard for no reason.
Oh yeah.
And she was like, "Oh my God, what's wrong with you?" I'm like, "Nothing. It's just as natural as every month you have a period. It just happens. I wake up with the hard on. Okay? Well, it's just how the shit works." And she was like disgusted by that. Like, "Oh my God, you're so insatiable. You're sitting there doing math with a rock hard dick."
Right.
It runs your life. It makes you do stupid shit. Like, it'll make you do shit that when you have that moment of clarity that we're all very familiar with, you're like, what the fuck? What?
Oh, I've after I get done beating it sometimes, I'm looking at the porn I just watched and going, I am disgusted with myself. But 2 minutes before, I wasn't thinking that, you know?
2 minutes before, you're like, let me try and get the dirtier shit.
And it really is that. I'll once again, I'll find that video and A post it on the Facebook page for anyone who's listening, who wants to watch it, about that woman who lived as a man. She nailed it. It's a need. Like it's I don't know how else to explain it. And here's the thing, like,
we will make ourselves late to work if it involves busting a nut. Sometimes not even with a person.
Yes. Yeah, big time. I mean, if there could be an anonymous poll taken and all men had to answer honestly, but it was like anonymous.
So you don't want to survey? You going with poll?
Okay, survey. How many men have knocked one off at work? I think women would be horrified at the number.
Adam Carolla brought this up a few months ago. He was talking to his news girl. He was like, you would be horrified at the amount of guys that would answer yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And that ain't no fake news, ladies. That's the real deal.
Yeah.
Speaking of now that we talked about this demon that haunts men, let's move on to fake news. Yeah,
I know, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know if we need to talk about it.
Well, what is it now? Because be honest with you, it seems like something. It's like the Razzies. It's something so silly I didn't even pay attention to it.
Well, a couple tweets that the president put out over the course of I don't know, it seems a few months now. He's been talking about he's going to have the first annual Fake News Award to highlight all the fake news stories that have come out over the past year of his presidency. And nobody was really sure what it was going to be. Is there going to be a ceremony? Is there an actual award? And he, finally he set a date for it, and then that nothing happened on that date, and no comment, and no event announced. Just, the fake news will be announced on this date. Fake News Awards, rather. And then when it does finally come out, it's just like a page of nothing even linked to any stories, either pro or against. Maybe just, in a lot of cases, a screen cap from a Fox News story debunking the story. But and a list of things that the media has gotten wrong over the last year.
Although we did determine that the first and the last things are open for debate as they are still unfolding.
The first one was about Trump tanking the economy, and this is a quote from Paul Krugman. Paul Krugman is an economist, and like any economist, he thinks in long-term measures, not, certainly what happens with stock market day to day affects a lot of things, blah, blah, blah. But how an economy really works is it's too big of a train to turn on a dime, right? And while Trump certainly hasn't done anything to tank our economy, the reason it's in the spot it is now is because of the previous administration. If there's long-term damage to it, we won't know because we're still in the short term. And the last one was the Russia investigation, which is still ongoing. The rest of them, some of these we've talked about. How the story of just ridiculous stuff like him feeding the fish with the Japanese prime minister. And it was put out there by, see, it cites on here, CNN falsely edited a video. Was CNN the first one to run that? I don't know. Everybody seemed to be running the same video, and I don't know. Falsely edited it because they cut out the part where the Japanese president dumps the food first. It makes it look like Trump was just, doing a half-assed job.
Here you go, eat all the food.
Right. I don't know. I understand what the point of this is. The point of this is to point out the mistakes that the media has made over the course of the last year, and show people that you can't believe anything that you read in the news unless it's approved channels like Breitbart or Fox News that the president just openly advertises for.
See, I didn't get that. I got more of. I didn't get, don't pay attention to my approved channels. I got just, it was more of him trying to back up his whole, the quote we said earlier, the most attacked president ever, or whatever.
Right.
I think
to support his claims
more trying to chase that one down.
Yeah. To illustrate the witch hunt for people.
Yes.
That's the story, the narrative that he's putting out there. I think those two go hand in hand. You can't believe the media because it is a witch hunt.
I'll give you that. But I think too it's a little bit too of, I guess, him kind of, the press obviously has jumped and been on the moral high ground for the last year. And I think this is kind of his little fuck you right back at him. Like, oh yeah? You claim moral high ground? Then you better cross all your T's and dot all your I's, because Donnie's watching. Trust me, I think it's silly.
I think it can be pointed out, too, though, that, take number 7 here, for example. CNN falsely reporting about Anthony Scaramucci's meeting with a Russian, but had to retract it due to a significant breakdown in process. That is the quote. Cited as an article in the Washington Post. 3 CNN employees resign over retracted story on Russia ties. Okay, so what number 7 illustrates is that the media these media organizations do hold themselves accountable, right? It's nothing new that a media outlet gets a piece of news wrong. This is something that does happen. It's an inevitable thing, whether it's something that is intentionally perpetrated or whether it was just through human error. You're going to have retractions, error corrections, and sometimes people lose their job over it. I mean, as a list, sure, it seems really effective, and I'm sure everybody's retweeting this and commenting about it. What is it really? I mean, it looks really dashed off. This isn't an in-depth presentation of anything.
Yeah, it does look like it was cut and pasted together while he was on the shitter.
Right. And his followers will believe it, and his detractors won't. It does nothing. It is really nothing. So that's
See,
why
then you're
I guess
on it the most, though.
I mentioned it kind of as a jokey segue. I didn't really know if there was anything really worth deconstructing here.
So, in other words,
it might be gut check time, CNN.
In other words, it's just another way for him to cast doubt on any press that he doesn't approve of, which is, you know, the first thing you do when you're trying to, it's the first thing you do when you try to, establish a totalitarian state. You cast doubt on all media that could expose you as the fucking jackass you are. And it's something, once again, that goes back to Steve Bannon. That's why I find it just hilarious that Trump is downplaying the role Bannon played in his fucking candidacy. Yeah. Bannon succeeded beyond anybody's wildest dreams, except for maybe his own, at casting doubt on everything. Now everything is fake news. The minute someone doesn't like the news story, fake news comes out. It's one of those terms that is up there with triggered, snowflake, libtard.
Oh, one of the guys I work with. He doesn't do it like as a, he's not like these fools on the right, but no, he'll do it as a joke. If he thinks you're fucking with him, he goes, "Hey, that's fake news." It's permeated. This guy's like 10 years younger than me. It's permeated the young people.
Yeah, it's almost losing
an idiom.
Yeah, it's almost losing its meaning now. But the sad part is it's already done the damage because it's given people permission to go, I don't like this news story, so I don't believe it because I don't like it. And so, I mean, it's a conversation ender. That's basically what it is. It's the right version.
Is it the white version of racist?
Yeah, it's kind of the right's version of I don't like what you're saying, so I'm going to shut it down. They tried to pretty it up by putting fake news over top of it. And
right.
Once again, you notice who he goes after. You didn't mention any of the usual suspects. He didn't go after Huffington Post, from what you said. He didn't go after the Young Turks. He didn't go after MSNBC. He went after CNN.
Newsweek, CNN, Washington Post. And, so some of these...
But he used them as a source?
New York Times falsely claimed on the front page that Trump administration had hidden a climate report. Okay, maybe they got that one wrong. Who gives a fuck? That's hardly the worst thing that's going on in this administration, that they may or may not be hiding climate reports.
Well, on top of that...
These aren't even tackling, outside of the Russia investigation, which is still to be proven, whether there's collusion or not, none of these tackle the direct issues that are being levied against the Trump or his administration. None of these are certainly proof that he's not a racist.
Well, even if a newspaper or a television news network gets a story wrong, that's why there's retractions. That's why they correct themselves.
Number 4, Time falsely reported that President Trump removed a bust of Martin Luther King from the Oval Office. And then underneath it, that's all it says for that. It doesn't debunk it. It just shows a screen capture from Fox News exclusive of President Trump in the White House with his hand on the bust, like illustrating, like, here it is. I mean, first of all,
my dead black friend.
This is another so what story, but it's also so easily manipulated. He could have removed that, be like, I don't want that bust around of that black dude, whoever the fuck that is. And then when he got slack for it, he was like, oh, this is perfect. I'll just put it back out, have Fox News come over, and we can have this great story about how Time is fake news.
I'm
No,
just
what he
picturing him
shoulda did.
walking into the Oval Office going, "Why is this bust of Ben Carson here?"
Right.
What he should have did, he should have been, no, I sent it out to get it cleaned. No, I got it back.
It was
shiny
black.
now.
I was trying to scrub all the black dirt off it. It was something was wrong with it.
It's gold now.
Black people like gold, don't they? Yeah. See, I'm a
I
friend
got
of
some
the black
diamonds
people.
put in the teeth.
I gave him a grill. Yeah.
He had an intern scrub the thing until it was white, and then somebody had to go out and like get a fake one to put in its place. It was like an episode of the Brady Bunch.
Jesus. But I mean, you're basically confirming what I'm saying. He goes after low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Like really, you could dig in the far left news sources that I just brought up and find bullshit reporting, shoddy journalism, and point it out all day. Just as like you could go to Breitbart and go and InfoWars and go, oh please, like anyone who uses like I said, the Young Turks, Jezebel.com, or uses Breitbart or InfoWars as a valid source of information, I just kind of shake my head and go, okay, Kool-Aid good today? Enough sugar in it for you? Because come on, man. How you look at that and go, oh, no. They're giving equal consideration to both sides. No. They start with an agenda and work backwards on the story to fit the agenda. They start with the conclusion and work backwards.
That proves your point. Newsweek falsely reported that Polish First Lady, whatever the fuck her name is, did not shake President Trump's hand underneath the photo of him shaking her
Excuse
hand.
me, you were just dismissive to a woman, sir. That's no longer allowed.
It wasn't the fact that she was a woman, it was that she was Polish, and there's no way I can pronounce that name.
She needs a vowel.
Yeah. So in other words, it's like I thought. It's the Trump equivalent of the Razzies. All right, you're kicking people who it's easy to pick on, and these, I mean, Time, the Washington Post, these, the New York Times. For the most part, these aren't parts of the media that's going to stoop down to the level and get in the dirt. They're just going to try to be like, oh, we gotta, they go low, we go high, because that's what is expected from us. And it's like he's trying. Hold on. But what I'm saying is, it's like he's baiting them to go, come on and get in the mud. Come on and get in the mud. That way I can go, see, there's your precious sources right there.
These news organizations left themselves exposed when they decided to report on how Trump fed the ducks in Japan. Like, why the fuck does anybody care? Why is that important? Because it helped their current narrative of this guy as a buffoon.
And it just goes back to, and here's what I love. Even some of his most vocal supporters that I know personally go, oh, he's a complete jackass, but he says it like it is.
And even this thing of the New York Times publishing what did you say, the Trump supporters, how they think he's doing or whatever.
Right.
That, to me, that reeks of the whole we're going to the white trash zoo mentality that's kind of been going on with Hollywood lately. Like, have either of you seen the Sarah Silverman show on Hulu?
No.
I have not watched it. I've heard a lot about it.
The first episode is like she goes to the white trash zoo.
Yeah.
Like, she goes and hangs out with a family in Louisiana, and she's going to hang out with some Trump supporters and talk to them.
Oh,
We're all going to come together.
Is this the first time you've seen a real live Jew?
Yeah. Like, to me, like, the New York Times doing that kind of reeks of something like that.
Well, I mean, these are New York Times readers, and they were asked to submit letters for this particular opinion page. I don't know.
Here's what I think of anymore with Trump. Any Republican president, first of all, let's just get this out in the open. I don't know how anyone could disagree with this. I'm going to say, and when I say the majority, I mean over 50% of the people in news, in journalism, tend to lean towards the left. Any Republican president is going to have a hard time. Trump walked in and picked a fight before they had a chance to even start giving him a hard time. He walked in, kicked open their door, called them all faggots, and gave them fucking noogies and shit and atomic wedgies and said, now do something.
The failing New York Times.
All right, that's what he did. So he picked a fight. Now he's got it.
Well, what's giving?
He never
him
gave
a
the
hard
Washington
time,
Post
though?
a snappy nickname.
Like the press is critical of him, but the harshest thing they could do is not cover him.
But
it's kind of late now that he's president.
But they love to. I mean, what was the story that was going around about how much free advertisement he got from the press?
Yes.
Billions worth. I mean, it was...
Everything he said and did was worth reporting on because he was so bombastic.
Exactly.
They love those clicks, too. They made some money off those clicks.
And that's the problem. That's where a higher brow person than him would call them out and go, well, if you hate me so much, just stop reporting on everything I say.
Rich, I just thought of something. LeVar Ball is Donald Trump's fault. Donald Trump begat LeVar Ball. Or he begat the environment for LeVar Ball. Because it's the same principles.
They're products of the same environment.
Yeah.
Well, that's how come I was against my better judgment excited when it seemed like there was a brewing Twitter war. And then when it just stopped, I was like, well, that was anticlimactic.
Yeah, same. Dude, I was ready. I was getting the popcorn ready. I was like, oh, this is going to, if anything, this will be entertaining.
Yeah, two narcissistic egomaniacs, completely incapable of understanding where anyone else is coming from, going at each other. It was going to be great. But for whatever reason, it just didn't happen. But see but then again,
Secret Service shut that shit down.
That goes back to what I'm saying. He could just very easily go, if you are so highbrow, Washington Post, New York Times, and you're so above me as a person, then why are you still cashing those checks that you're making money off of reporting about me?
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
you hate me so much. Why say my name so much?
I mean, that ship has sailed. I mean, he's the president. It's their responsibility to do so now.
Well, this is also in an alternate universe where he's self-aware enough to say to him when it started.
Right, but it was the unfair amount of coverage as a candidate that helped cause the situation. I don't know if you could blame Trump's election, Trump's presidency on that alone, but it was certainly a contributing factor.
Rich, in this alternate universe, also on November 8th, he goes, this was fun. Didn't really want to win. I concede. Let Hillary have it.
Yeah, he pulls a Brewster's Millions. This was just a joke, really. Sorry.
I think I get this far. My bad.
Well,
Hillary, come on out, Hillary.
Honestly, I do put it at a lot of the reason that he's in office at defeat of the press, because it's the mindset that they've allowed to corrupt their fucking chosen profession.
It's the condescension too, man.
You talk down to people constantly. You feed them lowest common denominator stories. You pack the front end of the news with all the horrifying shit. Is your child in danger of dying by this common household item? Tune in at 11. Fear.
You may be a rapist.
Yeah. And you've done that for decades now. You don't even... We have news agencies that don't even bother to act like they're impartial. That they're going to report on both sides or just give you the facts because it doesn't sell anymore. We want the salacious bullshit. So, yeah, it's congratulations. He's a monster of your own creation. All right? Sex sells, violence sells, and if it bleeds, it leads. You've been living on borrowed time with that mindset. Now this happens. What did you expect was going to happen? Seriously. If you have a kid and every day you call that kid an idiot of his life, when that kid's 18, don't be surprised if that kid is a fucking 18-year-old idiot.
There's a lot of people confused that the stories of Trump having sex with porn stars and then paying them off to remain silent about it wasn't
a hooker?
Getting enough traction. And again, like it doesn't get traction because it doesn't matter.
Exactly. It's like grabbing by the pussy made him stronger.
It doesn't tell you anything new about this person.
Makes me greater.
No,
although the fact that he's told the blonde one that he reminded him of his daughter.
Oh.
was totally believable.
That played well in the South.
That actually made her story completely. That detail is like, oh, yep, that tracks.
Yep. It happened. Not the chick who supposedly he fucked.
Yeah,
but her friend that went on Megyn Kelly, something Evans,
genitalia,
or something like that. I don't know.
Genitalia.
What I'm saying is, I looked up.
That's her porn name, genitalia.
Oh, it's like Alana Evans or something like that. I looked it up.
No, that's her real name.
Oh, okay. Well, then
her porn name is genitalia.
That sounds more like a drag queen name.
Okay. Jokes aside, there's porn out there with her under her real name. And the point I'm getting at is Trump is either packing in the pants or that was the worst sexual experience for her ever because she likes the brothers and she likes them big. That's what I'm getting at. So I don't know what the fuck Trump was doing besides stirring coffee in that fucking cavernous thing.
Hey, he's got a big dick. He told us.
I hope for his sake and for her sake.
Believe me, it's no problem down there.
I hope it's true because, I mean, this shit was like, this looks like a baby's arm holding an apple going in and out of this chick, and all holes. So, I mean,
he doesn't have a big dick.
I can do for you, sweetheart.
Well,
you know how I know he doesn't have a big dick? None of his wives have had an ass.
Rich, this is.
They've all had that big ass.
Okay, so whether this tells you anything about his dick size is up for debate. It does tell you what type of porn he likes to watch because this chick had to be on his radar. I don't think he just like, hey, find me a porn star to fuck.
What was this,
like,
fantasy
he wanted
camp?
Somebody specific, which means he's watching her porn, which means he likes to watch black guys fuck white girls like most racists do. That's just watching all this black on white porn.
Actually, what is it? Was it Pornhub or Xhamster just released the most searched for terms?
Right.
And it was funny because...
And they can break it down by geographic data and income and all this shit. They know.
Oh, yeah. For women, it was like... It was like daddy porn, dominating porn, women being dominated, and then big black cock. And I'm like, the movie Ted is true. You're never more than 2 clicks away from a big black cock on the internet. But no, that's the thing. Not the chick that he supposedly had sex with, that Stormy chick or whatever. Her friend that he said, call her up and let's get a threesome going. Now, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, bro, you need to...
This is being greedy.
He's like, I've got 2 daughters.
Oh, he does have a type. He likes some blonde. He does have a type. He likes some blonde and on the more thin side. Yes, I'm trying to think of a polite way to say it, but yeah. But no, I mean, it's like at that way, I'd be like, hey, you got a porn friend, and if I'm fucking a porn chick and she throws in some videos of her porn friend, and she's getting railed by these big Mandingo motherfuckers. I'm like, don't call her. There's nothing I can do for her. Like, can I get Bridget the Midget in here or something? There's nothing I can do for that chick. I shove my leg in there? That's about it. I'm up to the kneecap, baby. You feeling filled up? I mean, that's bad scouting on his part, man.
Let's just set on the bedpost for ambience.
Exactly. Here, let me get my guitar out. Just fuck you with the neck.
Get 3 more. Just
I got the double neck guitar. I'll give you some DP tonight. Oh, God. But yeah, I agree. Look, if he fucked a porn star, whatever, who cares? Good for him. I don't give a shit. Why is this a fuck?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, whether this was if this came out about Barrio, I'd be shocked, but I'd be like, yeah, so what?
That's something, yeah, that goes back to what you said earlier when we were talking about the whole fucking Aziz Ansari thing. It's our puritanical roots. Like, seriously,
yeah,
folks, we are 60 years from Kennedy getting his head blown off, 65, whatever it is. Enough shit's come out about that family. They passed around Marilyn Monroe like a party joint, all right? I mean, seriously, if that bitch was still alive and spit in a Petri dish, we could clone all three of the Kennedy brothers. Why the fuck are we shocked that politicians fuck around just as much as anybody else? And who gives a shit? Who gives a fuck? It's between it's between them and their wives. And if they're dumb enough to bring it out in the public, then basically it's comedic fodder as far as I'm concerned.
I think that it's actually less creepy than like Clinton, who look, if you want to get some strange, like do what other rich and powerful guys do and break open your wallet to make it happen. Don't use your position to prey on the secretary.
Yeah, fucking 19-year-old intern in the Oval Office with a fucking cigar. Come on, dude.
Right.
I mean, at least Kennedy went out and got himself, Marilyn Monroe. I mean, Jesus God,
Personally,
that just tells.
Look, if you wanted to have a presidential stable, like, I'm okay with that. As long as the women are willing participants and paid well, have a fucking harem for the president. I don't want him sexually frustrated.
You know what would have been great about if that
I don't want a backed up guy with his hand on the button.
Right. You know what would have been great if Hillary was elected? She would still have a harem of women. So it'd work either way. You wouldn't even have to call in any guys. Like, Madam President, we have some men outside.
Right.
Why? Is the plumbing back
up? What are they for?
I don't need them. I don't need my cable fixed. I'm good. Send in the chicks. No, when I heard all that, I'm like, this is good for morning radio shows, for comedians,
right,
and for people to goof on. That's how I felt about the story. The Bill Clinton thing, to me, the biggest thing he did, besides creeping on a fucking intern, she was 19 when it started, and he was well into his 50s.
Yeah. Right.
That's just, I don't want to picture that. You lied about it. And you gave the GOP, who was looking for any reason to fucking hang your ass, you gave him the rope, tied the knot, and threw it over the branch for him. He should have just come out and said, if he'd have come out and said, it's none of your business. That's between me and my wife. Is it my business what goes on in your relationship, Newt Gingrich? No, it's not. But he didn't. He came out and said, I did not have sex with that woman, and gave him all the ammo they needed. Loaded the gun and handed it to him. And to me, that's the biggest mistake he made, outside of obviously fucking her when she's an intern.
Well, compare that now to the Trump situation. There's no gun to load.
No, because supposedly there's videotape of Russian hookers pissing on him.
Well, that's the same. Whatever happened to the pee-pee tape? That was all the rage, a little over a year ago, and it just kind of went away. It's kind of vanished.
I don't know. We might actually. I'm wondering if that's going to come back up. The transcript from the Fusion, one of the guys from Fusion GPS, which is the company that hired Michael Steele, who put together the dossier that talks about the supposed tape, the P tape. That testimony was sealed prior to today, and maybe it'll be in there. Who knows? But again, if it is, if it isn't, it's just more juicy detail. It's not. None of this is going to be a gotcha moment. The only gotcha moment that we're going to get is when he's finally defeated in office, and then we can say, there, we gotcha out of office. There's not going to be a scandal that brings his presidency down.
No, I've given up any hope whatever you want to call it. I don't know if hope's the right word, but I've given up any thought that there's going to be a smoking gun headshot. Boom, they got him dead to rights. It's just not going to happen. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The best bet is to get out there and vote against him. All right, and as fucked up as this is going to sound coming from me, someone who, if I'd have been allowed to vote, would have voted third party in 2016, but that's a different story. I don't know. Even if they fucking ran Oprah, I might vote for fucking Oprah just to get his ass out of there. I don't know. I'm on the fence about it, to be honest with you. They could throw Hillary back out, and I'd probably hold my nose,
right,
and hit the button for her, just because this is beyond. It's no longer funny. It's not amusing. It has its moments, but at this point, we don't know the ramifications of a lot of his shit and what it's going to do for years now. Have you noticed? This is something I've noticed with his presidency. When Obama took over after the Great Recession, and he did the stimulus package, et cetera, and everything started going well, no Republican would give him credit. It was all because that's what this is the outcome of what the Bush administration set up in their 8 years. They did the same thing with Clinton about fucking with Reagan and Bush and Daddy Bush. No, all the money you're making in the 90s is because of Reagan and Daddy Bush. Now, instantly, supposedly, it's all because of Donald Trump. I don't buy it, and I'm terrified of where we're going to be in 10 years, because I don't know if there's another tech bubble to ride like we rode in the 90s. And I know that, if you were in certain businesses, you made some money in the 80s, but the economy, if it's anything, is cyclical. And does everybody forget Black Monday in 1987? I mean, and then almost 20 years later, you had the Great Recession in 2008.
Right. And so what, back to the fake news thing, the first story was about Paul Krugman's statement about how he's going to ruin the economy. And again, you can't judge that based off of tax policy that
hasn't even taken effect yet.
Right. Or any of the shit, investing in oil and coal. If you don't have an environment where whatever the next booming industry that's going to happen in the world has a place here in America to thrive, then long term we are going to suffer. So
I mean, all I can hope for, honestly, is that he just, through pure fuckery, it either has hardly any effect, or he got it right just through pure fuckery. Because I can't believe he knows what he's doing.
Nope.
Well,
the economy is in trouble if you think about it, because we are alive during a shift. It is shifting. At least our economy is shifting away from. We've talked about it a million times. It's shifting away from manufacturing.
Globally,
yeah, it's shifting globally, and it's shifting away from manufacturing. And this motherfucker is still focusing on coal and manufacturing jobs.
Where we're making our cars and air conditioners.
What's that?
And where we're making our cars and air conditioners.
Yeah, we are not setting ourselves up for success in the future. We're trying to do what we're trying to do what worked in the past, and it's what got us here, but that's not where we're going. Yep.
No, absolutely. But Rich, when you had mentioned brought up the idea of would you vote for Oprah or the celebrity equivalent of if that's what the choice you were faced with to run against Trump. And my gut instinct is no, that I don't want to support. If that's the direction that we're going in for leadership, I don't want to support that. But I mean, weigh that against this quote that I sent you guys on our private chat. That was, I guess, this was somebody in the White House. This is an unnamed source. So take it as you will. But it says that in private conversations, Trump has told advisors that he doesn't think the 2018 election has to be as bad as others are predicting. He has referenced the 2002 midterms when George W. Bush and Republicans fared better after the September 11th terrorist attack. And
here you go again.
Personally, it doesn't feel like whether you want to believe in collusion or not, I feel like this president, all options are on the table as far as securing his legacy. And the idea that we would have somebody in power that would either just possibly let happen some sort of terrorist attack in order to gain advantage for it, or even straight up do it wag the dog style, is a scary enough thought that I might just go, all right, well, let's just let Oprah be president for a little while and see if we can't course correct from there, because that's a dark path that we're going down with Trump.
No, there's a point where, because I still feel this way. There was a bunch of people right after the election running around. This is what you get for voting third party. Oh, you're tired of you don't like Hillary, so you voted for Jill Stein or whoever the fuck, and it's your fault that we have him in office. And it's like, I never bought into that shit. Now it's to the point where, holy shit, this is as ridiculous and as bad as I feared it would be. If he was just a fucking 40-degree day of a president, yeah, I'd probably vote third party in 2020. But this is just, I don't understand his supporters besides the fact that they just like, hey, fuck it. Yeah, he says what he says, what he is on his mind. He shoots from the hip, and he pisses off a bunch of people who annoy me. So that's reason enough for him to be president. No, it's not. It's not. And
they lay out very clearly what it is, the reasons why they do support him in those letters to the New York Times. It's about paying less in taxes. We'll see if that actually turns true for many Trump voters or not. It's about supporting their religious beliefs. There's a lot of mention of Jerusalem in there. His policies on, I don't know if you've heard this week, he wants to put together a plan for protecting people who refuse treatment to transgender people based on the caregiver's religious ideals. So if you're a Christian, you're against people changing their sex and you think it's immoral and evil behavior, you personally don't have to treat that person. And he wants to put together like a task force to tackle this. These are things that will continue to gain traction with his base. All the rest of it is inconsequential. However, they managed to keep America white, pay less taxes, maintain their idea of an American way of life, then the person.
See, that doctor thing's tricky. Because isn't your first thing supposed to be do no harm? If you believe you're going to be doing harm, you know what I'm like?
No, you know what? It's not about. It's not about performing a sex change operation. It's about giving that person any type of care. It's about protecting somebody if they just refuse to. Like, I don't even want to touch that he/she thing, that whatever, that type of behavior would be protected. Like, if you don't want to give sex changes, you just don't. Like, nobody's forcing any doctors to give sex changes.
And see, here's where my mind goes with this. Todd had a blog post about it, and there's a few professors who I follow on YouTube and watch their videos. And Todd and a couple of these professors basically come to the same conclusion, which is religion is almost a necessary evil. And, I hear shit like this, and I'm just like, really?
What's the thinking there that people would go off the rails?
Sky Daddy, we need the threat of eternal punishment to be good people. Then you're not a good person in the first place, man. It's not that hard. All right? if the only reason you're doing what you're doing is because you're afraid of hell, you deserve hell. I don't need stories about talking snakes and God talking to people through bushes and making a bet with Satan that he can torture a guy and the guy will still come back and love him and all this shit. I don't need all that to know that you don't go around killing people, you don't steal from people, you don't rape people. I don't need that, right? And religion gets used as an excuse for what people. It's used as an excuse so much for their own prejudices that I don't know. To answer your question, I don't know why these people have come to it's a necessary evil. I guess because maybe they feel that there's a large group of humans who would be horrible people if it wasn't for religion scaring them into being good people. But then I just point to the Spanish Inquisition, Salem witch trials, pretty much any country under Sharia law. Explain that to me.
It's amusing hearing politicians talk about how Muslims want to come over here and institute Sharia law. I'm like, yeah, and you want to tell people what to do with their body. You want to use your religion to control issues like abortion and immigration.
I mean, someone pointed something out. They said, if everybody who claimed to be as deeply religious as they do acted like the Amish, I don't think many people would have as much of a problem. As many people would have as much of a problem with religion as they do. And if you think about it, it's like, yeah, the Amish don't care if you have a cell phone. They don't care if you use electricity. They go and they live the way they fucking want to live. Fine, I don't give a shit. Go do that.
That's right. They're so confident in their way of life that it's part of the process of growing up is that you go and live outside the community to see if that way of life actually works for you.
Exactly. I mean, talk about some like you said, confidence. I mean, hey, yeah, if you want to go be part of the secular world, knock yourself out. And if you decide you don't like it, you can come back. If you do want to stay there, absolute, God bless, whatever. Right. I mean, but it's not. We all know that's not how the evangelical religions are.
Well, that's because they continue. Their movement continues to build with the number of people that believe in it.
Exactly.
They need recruits.
And
that's how they accrue power and then therefore control, elections, laws. I mean, where money goes.
I cannot believe that some of the discussions that we've had in society in the last 20 years, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, these are grown people, highly educated, talking about acts described in these books that they know to be impossible. And if you're a politician in this country, it's almost political suicide to say, I'm not religious whatsoever. I mean, you can't even say you're agnostic, that you are on the fence, that you can't prove it or disprove it, so you don't worry about it until you get there. You can't even say that. That's political suicide in a lot of parts of this country. And it's like, really? I have a hard time because it's like, I don't want to hate those people, but I kind of hate those people because they're holding us back. You are a fucking anchor around the progress of humans as a species. Believing and buying into this fucking Bronze Age bullshit that goddamn motherfuckers, it's bullshit. What? Isn't it amazing when we invented photography and cameras, miracles stopped happening on a daily basis? You don't, back in the Bible's days, so-and-so saw a burning bush and God talked to him through it and Moses threw down his staff and it became a snake and he parted the Red Sea and all this bullshit. Okay, well, guess what? Now we got a way to capture all these miracles to spread the word of God.
Pixar didn't happen.
Gone? Yeah, where have all the miracles gone? Now people see Jesus in their toast, and they fucking sell it on eBay for hundreds of dollars, and that's a miracle. Like, really? it's
there's a lot of denouncing of these unnamed sources when it comes to all of these stories about Russian collusion. I'm like, I'm sorry, did I miss all the footnotes that were in the Bible? Were all those sources cited?
I mean, not to get too much into it, but most of the Gospels, those people didn't even fucking live at the same time as Jesus.
Right.
If I told you something, and you handed
oral history that handed down from person to person, like try and get like one group of people in a room together and just play a game of telephone. You can't even get that shit right.
Yeah, exactly.
And plus, I mean, like, storytellers, that's kind of your thing. If you're a storyteller, you're going to put your own spin on it.
Yeah, as Bernie Mac calls it, it's putting 100 on 10. You know? You tell a story, and I'm reminded of the quote about Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail by Hunter S. Thompson. One of the politicians that he followed said, it's the most accurate and least factual book about that period of time I've ever read.
Yeah.
And when I said that to somebody one time, they said, I don't understand what that means. I said, he's telling the truth. He's just exaggerating it, basically.
Right, he's telling a story, but the story he's telling is representing it accurately.
Yeah. And that's a good storyteller. That's what makes a good comic. They can go up there. You can give them a subject. There's not many good comics that go up there and just do set up, punchline. Most comics these days tell a story and it evolves over time, and they polish it. They find what works. They hit their beats, et cetera, et cetera. It's just like writing a solo or writing a piece of music. It's no different. There's an art to it. And you're telling me that because these people supposedly had divine inspiration, that God made sure no word was ever changed? I could prove to you the Bible has been changed just between the King James Version and the New International whatever version. They've changed shit. The Catholic Bible's different from the fucking Protestant Bible.
Oh,
Then you get the Mormons. Okay, so really, guys, really, this is
God has many handbooks, Rich.
Right. Well, it's the new gospel, and the gospel can't be wrong. Okay. Well, what about the old gospel? Well, that's just not gospel anymore.
And it's scary, and what's even more disappointing and depressing than it's scary that you have people walking around believing this shit, or at least have convinced themselves they believe this shit. It's the people that convince themselves that someone like, and I'm just going to pick on him because he's president, Donald Trump is a godly man. In no way, if I was asked to describe Donald Trump, would godly even come into my mind, let alone be one of the ways I describe him. That is, I've said this before, congratulations, Christians, you elected the first atheist president. He's just pandering to you. That's it. He doesn't believe any of this shit. Look at his life. Does that look like the life of a man who lives his life according to Jesus? Look at all the gold shit he's got in his fucking house. It's the exact opposite of all the teachings of the New Testament. And I have family and friends who are like, oh, he's such a godly man and he's restoring God to glory in our country. And I'm going, what?
Donald Trump?
Are we looking at the same person here?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and these are people who will tear down Martin Luther King because Martin Luther King was fucking anything he could. Well, he wasn't a man of God. He cheated on his wife. Then what the fuck does that make Trump? I mean,
it's supposed to get divorces in the church. Isn't he at like 3 of them or 2 of them?
3, I think. On top of that, I mean, it's still, the jury's still out on whether he wants to fuck his own daughter. I mean, how is that godly in any way whatsoever? But these people will hold the rest of us hostage because he fucking gives them lip service. And that's what really scares me about 2020 is that you're going to have these Christians and they're not going to support the Democrats whatsoever. The hardcore base of the religious right, it is out of the realm of possibility for them to support the Democrats. We saw it with was it Roy Moore?
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw it. It wasn't Christians. It wasn't Christians voting for a Democrat that was the reason he wasn't reelected. It was people coming out who wouldn't have voted otherwise. They were motivated by the fact that he's a fucking creepy-ass pedophile to vote against him. Because believe me, when whoever, I don't even know who the fuck won, but whenever his term's up, they're going to have another Republican Christian in there. Believe that right now.
Yeah. Well, there's even talk. It was Doug Jones who beat him, and the Republicans immediately started talking about how, well, you know, he's a Democrat, but he should probably vote with the Republicans because, you know, of the area that he's from. He should vote with the will of the people.
Because Alabama.
Right. Well,
man, we started with Trump. We're ending with Trump.
Yeah, came full circle.
It's the worst sandwich ever.
One day
the worst
we'll be
bread
free
ever.
of him.
So, yeah.
You know, and I just wanted to add one thing real quick. I had this conversation with a buddy of mine. He's like, you guys really rag on Trump, you know, and it makes me sometimes not want to listen and this and that. And I said, dude, look, we've known each other for quite a few years now. Okay, you know, in 2000 in the primaries, I've in Michigan here, I voted for fucking McCain. All right, I wanted Bush over fucking Al Gore. It was only once Bush got in there and I saw the job he was doing, I was like, okay, this idiot's got to go. I mean, seriously. Oops. That was a mistake. My bad. Sorry. You know, I mean, I've supported politicians on both sides. I've supported independents. I just, literally, how can anyone look at him and go, oh, he's doing an excellent job?
Yeah, I know. Tremendous job.
He's made us a laughing stock. I mean, more so than we do our own selves when we have just a regular old politician in office.
I think half the reason everybody's riled up is this is who we are and we don't like it. Like, this is a reflection of our current society at the moment. And I think that's half the reason everybody's pissed off, is we don't like what we're seeing in the mirror. We liked it when it was a cool black guy.
I think it's a valid point. Because I think politicians don't, for the most part, don't represent the average American. Sadly, I think Trump does represent the average American in a lot of ways. And there's a lot of people looking in the mirror and not liking what they're seeing. I'd agree with that wholeheartedly.
Like said, we just had a black president. We can't be this anymore. Maybe we are, and it pisses a lot of us off. Oh well.
Next time we need a bigger meteor.
I know, right? I said, nice try, space. You gotta hit us harder than that. Sure would have been welcomed by a lot of people. But hey, if you're still with us, thanks for listening. Make sure that you give us a rating, a review, if you like the show, if you dig it. You know, share us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at UnRegimentedPod, email the show on regimented@ChristopherMedia.net. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.
Later, guys.
If you like this show, please tell a friend. Please follow us on Twitter and like and share us on Facebook by searching for Christopher Media. You can subscribe to all ChristopherMedia.net shows for free on ChristopherMedia.net. Please make sure to rate and comment on all your favorite Christopher Media shows. Thank you in advance for supporting Christopher Media by clicking on the PayPal button and by clicking through to all the sponsors who support ChristopherMedia.net. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net, and thank you for listening. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
Pros bring something extra to every job. Now at the Home Depot, they also get something extra. Pro Extra, our free loyalty program built for pros just like you. Members earn perks with every dollar spent, like Pro Extra Dollars, a tool rental credit, and more. New members get $20 off their next in-store purchase of $200 or more just for signing up. Learn more at homedepot.com/Pro Extra. New year, more rewards, Pro Extra, only at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Pros bring something extra to every job. Now at the Home Depot, they also get something extra. Pro Extra, our free loyalty program built for pros just like you. Members earn perks with every dollar spent, like Pro Extra Dollars, a tool rental credit, and more. New members get $20 off their next in-store purchase of $200 or more just for signing up. Learn more at homedepot.com/Pro Extra. New year, more rewards, Pro Extra, only at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.